Prologue. Kyubi's return. For years it had thought that Kyubi no Kitsune was dead. Only a few knew the truth. Years ago, at what is now called Valley of the End was where it had been told that the great fox was killed. This was not the truth. The young woman as she walked the nearly empty streets of Konoha knew this. Minato, you and your wife life is in great danger, where are you child? She thought out to him. Kitsune. A voice came back. The young woman smiled. Years ago the young woman had found a small child out in her part of the world, away from the wars. She took care of the child, an orphan of the Second Great Ninja Wars. Or so she had thought. As it turned out the child, Minato Namikaze was in fact the child of two legendary ninja. I must speak with you little one, it is important. Kitsune had thought back. You and your family is in great danger. There was a pause as she had talked though their link. I can't Kushina is in childbirth. Minato had thought back to her. Without warning Kitsune had taken off now knowing where Minato and his family were at. She ran as fast as she could to the hidden cave. However she was too late. Once she got there she found the body of two Anbu ninja, their bodies was still warm but their souls had already passed on. Kitsune moved fast and just as a man in a mask was about to kill an old woman and a nurse Kitsune hit the man in the chest with her staff sending him flying into the wall. Get away from them you bastard. Kitsune yelled. Who the hell are you bitch? The man in the mask asked. I know you. He said after a second. You. He yelled out as he charged the young woman only to get hit in the chest again by the staff Kitsune had carried. What is going on here? The old woman had said. Kitsune stood before her and the young family, the baby was crying and a woman with long red hair had tried to calm the baby down. Kitsune. The woman said. What's wrong? Kitsune didn't look back as she said. I had a vision that this man would once again try to control my brother and destroy the village. The man before her stood up, his mask was cracked in some places. He is also the same man that had killed the first Hokage. Spiting out some blood the man looked at the young woman. If it wasn't for you and that bitch Uzumaki I would have succeeded too. Kitsune stood her ground but then felt something. No, how are you doing this? Kitsune asked. I have no choice but to summon him here. The man said. However he felt something enter his side and once again cursed his luck. Stand behind him was none other than Minato Namikaze. The fourth Hokage. You fool. The man had yelled out back handing Minato across the room. There was a sudden scream from the red hair woman and the seal on her stomach started to glow. Then there was a blinking flash of light and when the light faded, in the middle of the room was a man, with long red hair and eyes wearing black pants and shirt. Sister, was all the red hair man said before he flew at Kitsune and started to attack her. Minato didn't know what was going on. Kyubi was supposed to be a fox not a man. Kyubi had attacked Kitsune with a sword as she started blocking with her staff. You've grown softer sister, Kyubi said with a snarl. Protecting the filth that is the human race. You are a fool sister. Kyubi slashed at Kitsune only for her to step aside. The young woman looked at her brother with sad eyes. Just because I want to protect them doesn't make me weak. Kitsune said just as she was about to counterattack though, Kitsune was hit in the side by the man wearing a mask. Sorry but I need your brother to destroy Konoha. He said. Not on my watch, Minato said as he ran at the man in the mask and kicked him in the face. Sadly his kick was blocked by the man and then was backhanded. As Minato looked at the man he only had one question. Who the hell are you? Madara Uchiha. Minato blinked at the masked man. Bullshit he died a long time ago. Minato said. Madara didn't say anything until Kyubi looked at him. Hello old friend. Madara said. You ready to finish what we've started? Kyubi blocked the staff as Kitsune had tried to take his head off. He kicked at her and then looked at the Uchiha. After I take care of this bitch. He said as he backhanded Kitsune in the face. She will pay for what she had done to me. Kitsune looked at her brother from the ground and spat out some blood. Mother had warned you that killing humans will be your undoing Kyubi. She said. Kyubi watched as she stood up. You are forever trapped in the body of a human. Kitsune looked at the two as she said this. No, Kyubi yelled out. You and mother betrayed me. Kyubi yelled as he ran at his sitter and started to throw punch combos at her. At the same time Minato was fighting Madara and losing. Kitsune had blocked most of her brother's punches but a few did get in. You betrayed yourself and the sworn duty you promised to uphold. Kitsune said as she fought back with a spinning back kick that was blocked by Kyubi. You and several others swore your life to protect the humans at all cost. Kyubi was getting pissed. Shut your fucking mouth bitch. Kyubi grabbed her by the neck and slammed her down to the ground and then brought his foot down on her back. How can I protect something if they plan on killing themselves anyways? He said as he started to punch and kick his down sister. At the same time Madara had thrown Minato into the wall. The two looked at each other. Release the seal and you will get your wish Madara. Kyubi said. Madara nodded. Kyubi then once again kicked Kitsune in the face. It will take a few hours, my lord. Madara said. Kyubi glared at him, then he grabbed the masked man by his shirt. You better not fail me, Madara. As the two left, Kitsune slowly made her way to Minato. Some Hokage I turned out to be. The blonde-haired man said. Can't even stop a dead guy and a human fox. Kitsune said nothing as she looked at the still woman on the bed. The old woman and nurse had left long ago. Kushina is still alive, Kitsune said as she stood up. She helped Minato up as well. They made their way over to Kushina, although the baby was taken by the old woman and was safe as well. Your child is safe with Bawako, Kitsune said. As she stood there, her hands started to glow. Kushina is amazing, Minato said as he petted his wife's hair. Kushina started to open her eyes. She lived even as Kyubi was forcing his way out of her. Kitsune had a sad look on her face though. She is still dying, Minato nodded. Kushina, can you help us stop those two? As the red-haired woman sat up, she looked at her husband and at Kitsune. I can stop Kyubi, but only for a few minutes, Kushina said. That should give you enough time to stop Kyubi once and for all. Kitsune shook her head. It wouldn't work, he would need to be sealed within someone in order to stop him. Both Minato and Kushina looked at her. Minato nodded. We have to use that seal then, Minato said. He would have a hard life, Kushina said. He'll be feared and hatred. Minato wrapped his arm around her shoulder. Kushina looked down at the ground. We have several hours, we need to warn the village. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Several ninjas were told not to attack and to keep the village safe from any harm. They had followed the order to the letter, and when the roar of the monstrous fox was heard, the safe houses was closed. Outside the village gate, Minato, who was carrying his son on top of a giant toad, looked at Kyubi in his fox form. Below him was Madara. Kushina was at his side, still barely hanging on to life. She needed to keep her son safe. So it comes down to this, Minato said. The fight was on. Minato gave his son, who was named Naruto, to Kushina and jumped at Madara, who kicked the blonde Hokage in the face. Another roar was heard as Kitsuna in her snow fox form, Ninetails waving behind her, once again started to attack her brother. Both foxes growled at each other and both let out a roar that had seemed to shake the mountain around the village. They bit at each other as well as they started to claw each other as well. Down on the ground, Minato was using his flying thunder god technique. It was the only way to beat Madara's Sharingan. By moving in a yellow flash, Minato was able to throw several punches and kicks at the Uchiha. Minato was also using his kunai and was making several wounds as well. Then it happened, Minato had stabbed Madara in the lower back, causing the man to fall down on his knees. "Damn you," the Uchiha said. "This fight is far from over." With that said, Madara had vanished. Minato cleared the sweat off of his forehead and looked at Kushina, who had just finished placing the seal on Naruto. With a nod of his head, Kushina looked at Kyubi, and without warning, chains made of pure chakra shot out of her body and had wrapped around Kyubi. "What is this? Kushina, you bitch, let me go!" Kyubi yelled at the red-haired woman. "Fuck you, fuzz bag!" Kushina yelled back as she had tightened the chains some more. Kitsuna looked at the two and froze in fear as Kyubi somehow was able to move his paw at the baby. Before she could do anything though, Kushina and Minato moved to protect the baby. "No!" Kitsuna cried out as the claw went right through them, but stopping just before it hit the baby. "Well, isn't this a bitch?" Minato said as he coughed up some blood. "How you doing, honey?" Kushina looked at her husband. "I'm dying, so hurry up and seal this bastard," Kushina said. Minato nodded. "Wait," Kitsuna said. She walked up to the two and looked at them. "I wish to give a gift to Naruto." With that said, Kitsuna leaned in and gave a soft kiss to the sleeping baby. Naruto was bathed in a soft golden glow before it had faded. He will have 2 special powers as he grows. With that said, she turned back into her fox form and grabbed onto her brother, just as their uncle was summoned. He saw his niece and nodded to her, and he had finished his job by sealing both Kitsuna and Kyubi into the baby. "Do not worry, he will be well taken care of," the death god said before he took the souls to their afterlife. A few minutes later, Hiruzen Sarutobi arrived too late to save his friends' lives. He walked into the clearing only to see the peaceful look on both Kushina and Minato faces. In their arms rested their son, Naruto, who was still alive, and was in a deep sleep. Hiruzen picked up the baby and laid him in his arms. It was then that he had noticed the sealing mark on the child, and his already saddened look seemed to have gotten sadder. A man with white hair walked up next to him. "I'll have a talk with her before she leaves," he said. Hiruzen nodded. He then looked at the white-haired man and said, "I will deal with the council," Hiruzen said as he and the other man walked back to the village. To be continued. Okay, so this was a rewrite of the prologue, and I think it was a better opening than the original. I know I was cheap when it came to Madara, but I don't care. This was more kitsune-based than anything, and yes, she and Kyubi are children of Inari. Okay, so I hope that you all have liked this rewrite of the prologue and that I had cleared up any plot holes if I didn't point them out. And I hope I didn't give up too much. Oh, and as always, I do not own Naruto. Chapter 1, Aftermath. Konoha Council Room. An hours after the attack. There was always a few things that can make a man go crazy. Being an Hokage, a village leader, was one of them. If it wasn't the god-awful paperwork, it would have to be the village council of idiots. Or as his former teammates called them, the council of elders. Right now the room was in chaos. People was yelling back about what was to be done with the baby that was right now in Hiruzen arms. We kill it, someone yelled out. That monster attacked us first, now we have to finish it off. There was several growls that came from a few people. You're a bunch of pansies, you know that. A woman on the ninja side of the chambers yelled back. You want to kill a baby just because he is holding the damn fox. Hiruzen frowned. While it wasn't really a lie, it also wasn't the whole truth either. You people are just as much as a monster than he is. Sume Inuzuka yelled out. That did it. Now the room was throwing insults at each other. Hiruzen just sighed. This was getting out of hand and he had to stop it. He gently set the baby down, and placed a jutsu on the little one. Then he looked up, growled a little and yelled out. Shut up now. Everyone and their mother looked at him. We'll get to the matter at hand in a little bit, Hiruzen said. But for now I need a damage and death report. The old Hokage said. Everyone seemed to be looking at one another. One of his ninjas stood up and looked at his leader. The damage wasn't really all that bad. As for the death report, surprisingly there hasn't been any report of any deaths. The scared warrior reported. Well, other than Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. Thanks to. He looked down to read his report for a name. Thanks to Kitsuna, warning we were able to get people to safety. Hiruzen sighed. His worst fear that there was a lot of people that was killed in the attack didn't come true. However, there was still people that had died. Sadly, they is a total of 7 dead. Everyone looked at him. My wife was killed shortly after the baby was born along with 2 Anbu warriors and a nurse. There was a slam on the table and everyone looked at the person. That does it then, this demon must be put to death. He yelled out. He is the cause for these deaths. Hiruzen glared at him. He then said, I do not blame this child for anyone's deaths. Yes, Minato Namikaze did seal the fox inside him, however. He stopped when a man who had one side of his face covered and had lost his right arm stood up. Hiruzen glared at him. Lord Hokage. Hiruzen didn't like his tone. Perhaps it would be better if the child was to be placed into my care. That way he can be used as a weapon. Just before Hiruzen could tell him, the doors to the chamber was kicked open and 2 people walked in. Like hell you will, you fucking bastard. Tsunade yelled. He'll be placed in the care of his grandparents. The room was quiet after that. Hiruzen was confused at this, then he remembered. Objection. This monster needs to be put down. The person who said that was hit in the face by a big and heavy book. Everyone turned to look to see Sume Inuzuka sitting back down. You make it said like he was some kind of dog. She said. You people keep saying that the boy, a baby no less, is a monster. She crossed her arms. Have you all gone mental or something? The only monster I see is the ones that will put a baby to death. With that, the Inuzuka clan head stood up. I, Sume Inuzuka, clan head of the Inuzuka clan, ask that Naruto Uzumaki be placed under the protection of his grandparents. Several others stood up and agreed to this. Are there any objection? The aging Hokage said. Not surprisingly, several people objected to this fact. One of the people was none other than Fugaku Uchiha. He wanted the boy to be put to death right away. Naruto Uzumaki is now under the protection of his grandparent and guardian, Tsunade Senju and Jiraiya of the Sannin. Hiruzen smiled as he saw the glare that Danzo was giving Tsunade as she held the baby. I'm sorry, little one, but you can't take your grandfather's name right now. Tsunade thought to the baby as she held him for the first time. I also wondered if Minato knew that Jiraiya was his father. The older blonde frowned at that. With the meeting over, Tsunade and the baby Naruto left the meeting hall. As she walked down the hallway, she was stopped by Danzo and a few of his men. Tsunade glared at the old war hawk. What do you want, you bastard? She asked. The baby, he was meant to be a weapon and I want to be his trainer. Tsunade growled at that. Don't be like that, lady Tsunade. I promise that I will take very good care of the boy. With a snap of his fingers, his men stepped forward to take the baby, however Tsunade spun on her heels and slammed her foot into one of her attacker's head. The other one blocked the attack but wasn't ready when Tsunade punched him hard in the stomach. A third attacker tried to attack her from behind but was stopped when a kunai was embedded into his head. Boy, did he get the point. A brown woman with short hair said. Hey you old fart, I clearly remember the old man saying that Naruto was under the protection of his grandmother, so go fu. She didn't get to finish as a hand covered her mother. Be nice, hun, a man with silver hair said as he stood beside the woman. After all, you have to remember, old people are hard of hearing. Danzo knew he overstepped his bounds. However, just as was about to walk away, another stood before this one was Hiruzen Sarutobi himself. Anbu, he yelled out as several men appeared before him. Attack! The battle was short as the Hokage fought Danzo's root ninja. In the end, Anbu won the fight, but sadly Danzo got away. Tsunade, we need to talk. Tsunade nodded and followed her old sensei to his office. The aging Hokage sat in his chair and looked at the blonde. Your request for leave has been proved, he said. Tsunade smiled and held the baby close. She frowned when the little baby had his eyes open but wasn't making a sound. Tsunade could have sworn that little Naruto was watching them. So what will you do while you're away? Hiruzen asked. Tsunade thought about that one. She looked down at the innocent child in her arms. Well, I was thinking about training him to harness his abilities. Tsunade started saying. The next thing I have planned would be for him to try and harness the powers of the Kyubi. Hiruzen nodded at that. Will you be taking Shizune with you as well? Hiruzen asked. Tsunade smiled and nodded her head. Yes, I think she'd be filling in as Naruto's older sister. With his questions answered, Hiruzen handed Tsunade a yellow envelope. That has everything the two of you will need, as far as paperwork go. Hiruzen said as he took out his pipe. It has your passports and paperwork. Then he looked her in her eyes and said. Be very careful, Tsunade. Minato had a lot of enemies that he made during the war, and would like nothing better than to see his son suffer. Tsunade nodded. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX hours, the truth being she hardly got any sleep. During the night she expected little Naruto to start crying during the night, or an attack from Root or something, but nothing came and Naruto didn't even cry once. So now here she was waiting for her only remaining student to show up. Shizune was a young woman of 15. She the only living member of the Saotome clan that was killed just a day ago when Madara and Kyubi attacked the village. She frowned when she saw Naruto in her master's arms, however it wasn't a frown of hatred, it was just that the baby was sleeping soundly in his grandmother's arms when the baby should be in the hospital still. The two stood next to each other ready to live when 3 more came up to them. Do you really think that going on our honeymoon now is a good idea? The brown-hair woman from the night before asked. I mean hello, the village was just attacked. The silver-haired man next to her sighed. Rin, there was hardly any death and those that was injured will be out in a week. He told her. What about sensei funeral? His wife said. We'll miss it if we leave now Kakashi. Kakashi held her hand and then held her close. Then there's Kushina, she stopped when Kakashi kissed her. Hiruzen looked at the newlyweds and could help but smile. He then turned to Tsunade and Shizune. I trust that you are ready as well. They nodded. Good. Be safe, and watch out for danger. Hiruzen then walked up to the 2 med ninja and handed them a few scrolls. Without much to say he hugged both Tsunade and gently hugged the baby that rested in his arms. Try not to drive your grandmother crazy, okay little one. Baby Naruto looked at the old man and to Hiruzen surprised smiled as if he know what was said. Hiruzen smiled, he had his mother smiled and his father's deep blue eyes. He gentle-handed Naruto back to Tsunade and with a hug to Kakashi and Rin he left. As the 4 left Konoha, they turned back to look at their home. All 4 of them knew that it would be there when they returned. For Tsunade and Shizune, it would be a little over 11 years, just in time for Naruto last year in the academy. Life was not going to be easy, nor was it going to be fair as Naruto goes up, but in order to keep Naruto safe from the villagers at least for now, Tsunade had to take him away. She just prays that she can raise Naruto right. To be continued. And that is chapter 2. Not much action in this chapter as it deals with the aftermath. Sadly no, I will not be doing chapters of Naruto growing up, but I will be going flashbacks and interludes from time to time. Now as you may or not know this story is a challenge story. One of the things that this includes is that Naruto has to have the Rinnegan. Okay, I'm not going to play stupid here and say that I know this, the truth is I know next to nothing and any and all info I have found said that it is the most powerful of the Dujutsu and it allows the user control of all 6 forms of chakra nature. Or something like that. Now if you have any information other than what Wikipedia and Leaf Ninja let me know in a review please, otherwise I'm going to start making stuff up. Okay, next up is the summary for the next chapter. Next time on Fox Hunt. Naruto, Tsunade and Shizune have returned to Konoha for Naruto to finish his legions in the ways of an shinobi, however everything is not all sunshine and kittens as Naruto meets Sasuke Uchiha and his fangirls. However, Naruto does meet an angel his first day in class. A side note, I just made up a last name for Shizune since her last name is Never Give. So with that said. Chapter 2, The Return Home. It was a bright sunny day in the land of fire. Not too warm and not too hot. 4 people was making their way to the gates of Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves. One of the 4 was a young man about 11, had long blonde hair that they tied in a ponytail. Think Ed from Full Metal. He wore black pants, a red belt, a red shirt with a black windbreaker. He wore sunglasses to hide his eyes, but the most noticeable thing about the young man was the 3 whisker-like marks on each cheek. "Are we there yet?" he asked. "For the 1000th time, no," said a blonde-hair woman. "Keep asking, brat, and you're going to find my foot up your." She was stopped when a younger woman covered her mouth with her hand. "Sensei, be nice, he just excited, that's all," a younger woman with short black hair said. She glared at her little brother and then said, "As for you, chill, there are ninja in the area and they will probably think that they are under attack." The older man standing next to the shorter blonde looked to his student. "Now listen to me, Naruto, when you go to the academy I want you to hide some of your strength and keep your eyes covered," he said. The young man known as Naruto looked at his sensei and his grandmother. "Did they know about Kitsune and Kyubi?" he asked. Tsunade looked at Shizune, who in turn looked at Jiraiya. Tsunade stopped and looked at her grandson. "Kiddo, listen, we're not too sure yet," she said as she placed a hand on his shoulder. "The villagers loved your father, I'm sure in time they will come to love you as well," Tsunade said as she started to walk again, Naruto close to her side. "It doesn't matter, I'll still protect Konoha with my life if I have to," Naruto said as he saw the gates of Konoha before him. Fox Hunt. Chapter 2, The Return Home. Just before the 4 of them have entered though, they were stopped by 5 men wearing masks. The one in the middle stepped forward and held up his hand. "Please state your name and your business in Konoha," he said. The Naruto looked at Tsunade and Jiraiya. "Is something wrong?" Naruto asked after Tsunade told them who they are. "I thought that Chunin stood guard at the gate," the preteen said. The Anbu looked at each other, now know who the group was. "There was a small uprising a few days ago, from a renegade group of ninja." Tsunade started to growl. She then turned to Naruto and Shizune and then said, "Shizune, can you take Naruto to the academy?" she asked. Classes should have just started. Tsunade then handed Shizune Naruto's paperwork and turned to the Anbu. Without much being said, the Anbu along with Tsunade and Jiraiya left the 2. "Well, there not much we can do, Naruto," Shizune said. "Come on, the academy is this way." She placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder and started walking away from the gate just as another group of Anbu appeared. Hokage Tower. "Sir, Tsunade Senju and Jiraiya are here to see you." Hiruzen looked up from his paperwork to see the last of his students standing in the doorway. Tsunade looked pissed and Jiraiya had his arms crossed. You can see him now." With that, the young woman ran off. "You have a lot of explaining to do, old man," Tsunade said. "Yes, but first, where is Naruto?" "Konoha Ninja Academy." "It's not much to look at, Shizune-chan," Naruto said. Shizune looked at him. She wasn't surprised that he would say that though. Being on the road for so long, Naruto learned his skills in the wild of the world. "Can't I just take the test?" Shizune just shook her head. "Sorry kiddo, no can do," she told him. Tsunade-sama said that you need to go to school, and that if you don't she'll end you all the way back to Wind Country with one of her punches. Naruto sighed. He loved his grandmother, but sometimes she was a pain in his butt. The 2 walked into the school building to a classroom. Once there, both Naruto and Shizune saw a brown-haired man with a scar across his nose. "Can I help you?" he asked. Shizune nodded. She then handed the young man a folder. "I see, since this is your first day of class, I'll let it go this time." He then opened the fold and read the file that was in it. "Everything seems to be in order. I'm Iruka Yumino," he said as he bowed. "I'm Shizune, it's nice to meet you," Shizune said. She turned to Naruto and glared at him. "Now remember what you were told and no pranks, understand, young man?" Naruto crossed his arms and gave her a pouting look with his head turned to the side. "Meanie," he said. Naruto turned to the class and said, "Listen up, you punks, I am Naruto Uzumaki and I'm going to be Hokage one day, believe it." He yelled out the last part only to get hit in the head by Shizune. "What did I tell you about that?" Shizune all but yelled at her blonde-haired little brother. "Just for that you get no ramen tonight for dinner," Shizune said as she put away her paper fan. Naruto looked like he was about to cry. "Sis, no," Naruto whined. Unknown to Naruto and Iruka, Shizune was smiling. She remembered hearing a story about a young woman who came from Whirlpool that said the same thing. "Kushina-sensei, if only you could see your little baby now. Now be good, I'll see you later, little brother," Shizune said and hugged him and kissed his forehead before leaving a blushing Naruto and a classroom that was laughing at Naruto. Hokage Tower. A few minutes later. "He has what?" a shocked Hiruzen yelled. He had to sit down. This was too much for the old man to handle. To think Naruto had that much power. Are you sure that it's... He trailed off, unsure of what he was about to say. He saw Jiraiya nod his head. If the council ever found out about this, Naruto will be placed in the CRA faster than anyone could blink. Tsunade sighed. True, but Naruto wouldn't let that happen. The village idiots would be sorry if they tried that too. I'm more worried about Danzo and his clowns than the council. Tsunade said, crossing her arms. How is it that he is still around? Hiruzen sighed. He attacks in small groups. While the attacks aren't deadly, he is putting fear into the people. Hiruzen took out his pipe and lit it. A few years ago he ordered Itachi Uchiha to attack his own clan. Gasps went around the room. However, Itachi as well as several Anbu was given reports that the clan was planning an uprising, a coup, if you will. He placed his pipe down. It was Danzo, who ordered the deaths of every Uchiha. Tsunade slammed her hands down on his desk. That bastard is trying to take this village over and you do nothing. She asked. I think it's time you step down again, sensei. The blonde said. Much to her surprise, Hiruzen smiled. Oh shit, was all Tsunade had to say. Konoha Academy sometime around noon. If there was one thing Naruto hated some than not getting any ramen, it was homework. Naruto stayed at his desk doing his work when he frowned. Something's not right here. Damn it. Kai. Naruto though, and the words on the paper changed. What the hell does happen? Naruto stopped what he was doing as he looked up to see a silver-haired young man walk in and frowned at him. Who the hell is that? I got a really bad feeling about this. Naruto thought as he went over his homework again, only to have found out that they all had a genjutsu on them. Naruto frowned once again. Something was going on. With a sigh, Naruto went and tried to redo his homework. He was about halfway done when he felt someone walk next to him. Naruto looked up to see a black-haired boy around the same age as him. Can I help you, duck butt? Naruto asked. The boy frowned. Look, I don't know how to tell you this gently, but I like girls, and so if you plan to ask me out, don't. The boy had a look on his face. He crossed his arms and kept his glare on Naruto. Fight me, the boy said. I want to test myself against you. Naruto looked up at the boy again. For a second there I thought Gaara followed me. With a sigh, Naruto got up and placed his finished homework on Iruka's desk. Fine, but I get to set the rules. Naruto said, turning back to the boy. You got a name, kid? Yep, there's that feeling again. Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke said as he walked past Naruto. The training field is this way. Naruto left his things and started following Sasuke to the training field, either one seeing the silver-haired young man following them. Hokage Tower. Sir, forgive me for saying this, Tsunade started to say. But have you lost your fucking mind? Hiruzen was once again smoking his pipe. I'm nowhere near as powerful as you, and another thing, what the hell have are you smoking? Hiruzen sat back in his chair, took the pipe out of his mouth and smiled at the blonde. Tsunade, you are more than ready to lead the village in a few years. I'll be training you once again after all. Tsunade blinked at that part. The truth is, the council is planning something, or I should say someone to take my place after I am gone. There was a sigh in the room. Tsunade was looking down. Why am I not surprised? Hiruzen chuckling, and what he said made Tsunade question his sanity even more. No dear, someone far more worse than him. Tsunade frowned. It's Orochimaru. Everyone in the room turned to Jiraiya. My spies in his hideout all claims that Orochimaru has a spy in Konoha. Hiruzen nodded. Well, it seems that the spy has talked to some of the member of the council and will be planning something big during the Chunin exams. Hiruzen had a thoughtful look in his eyes and then nodded. Neko, I want you to go and find Shikaku, and have him come see me now. A young woman with purple hair stepped out of the shadows and bowed. I think it's about time we play possum for a while. The other two nodded. Konoha Academy Training Grounds 1. Naruto looked around at the small training ground of the academy. With it being this small, there wasn't much that Naruto could do. Then again, he was told not to go all out. Naruto stood about 3 feet away from Sasuke with his hands in his pockets. I have 3 rules, Naruto said as he held out his right hand. One is that we don't use any weapons. Sasuke nodded at that. He rather use his skills anyways. Next, if you get hit out of the ring 3 times you lose. Sasuke was a little confused by that until he saw that there was a large circle in the ground. In rule number 3 we use taijutsu only. Sasuke growled. Fine, I accept your rules, so can we get started already? Naruto sighed. It seemed that Sasuke didn't see Iruka and the rest of the class behind him. That was the only reason behind the no jutsu rule. You may begin, Iruka said. Sasuke grinned and ran at Naruto. Once he reached him, he threw a fast punch that was easily blocked by the blonde-haired young man and then was kicked by the same blonde. Sasuke held his stomach as he stepped back. Sloppy, Naruto said. Sasuke didn't waste any words on him and charged once again at Naruto, who did a frontal flip over the Uchiha and spin-kicked Sasuke out of the ring. "Point, Naruto," Iruka said. Sasuke got up and looked at Naruto once more. Naruto just smiled and placed his hands behind his back. Sasuke growled and once again attacked Naruto, who just waved in and out of the punches like it was nothing. After a few minutes though, Naruto got tired of dodging Sasuke's attacks and kicked the Uchiha in the stomach once again and then backhanded him once more out of the ring. Sasuke got up once again and glared at Naruto hard. "Stop playing around and fight me like you mean it, Sasuke," Naruto said with a smile. It was that smile that pissed off Sasuke even more. How dare he make mockery of me? Sasuke thought and started to attack Naruto again. Naruto was getting bored with Sasuke now. The truth was there was hardly anyone that can match him in skills beside his grandmother and a few others. He needed a better challenge. "Time to end this," Naruto said as he blocked other kick that would have hit him in the head. Naruto caught Sasuke's punch and with a quick side kick to Sasuke's ribs, Naruto once again sent the Uchiha out of the ring. Everyone was shocked. No one had ever been able to have beaten Sasuke in a match before. Iruka cleared his head. "Winner Naruto Uzumaki," Iruka announced. The class went wild as some of the boys and girls ran to the blonde-haired young man to ask him several questions. Naruto was laughing as he told them that Sasuke wasn't really a challenge for him until he felt a cold chill in the hair and a pink-haired young woman was cracking his knuckles. "Oh shit," was all that Naruto could say before he took off ran. "Naruto, get back here," the pink girl yelled out as she and the other girls started to run after him. However, a girl with blonde hair stayed with the class watching Naruto dodge attack by the other fangirls. "Naruto Uzumaki, huh," she said to herself. She then walked back to the classroom seeing as how the day was over with. "I'll keep my eye on you." Chapter 3, Tests. Naruto. A scream ringed out through the village of Konohagaku no Sato, or Konoha for short. The cause for the scream was that somehow the young man that was running from the Hokage mountain after he had painted it. "Ha! Just try and catch me, you losers," Naruto yelled as he ran through the village. Some of the villagers were mad at what Naruto had just done. However, not many people knew that Naruto was ordered to help keep the ninja of the village in shape in case of an attack. "Come on, a turtle can run faster than you." Naruto didn't see where he was going and tripped over a foot and he came crashing down hard, losing his sunglasses as he did. Naruto screamed in pain as the sunlight hit his eye. Naruto quietly covered them with his hands. "Naruto, here you go," a voice said as his sunglasses was handed back to him. "Thanks, Iru." "Oh shit. Oh shit is right, young man," Shizune said, and she grabbed her little brother and started to shake him hard until Naruto had swirls in his eyes. "What the hell did I tell you about pranking people, Naruto?" Chapter 3, Tests and an Unexpected Sleepover. Naruto was thrown down hard on the floor of his classroom. Because Naruto was being an astard, Iruka said as he stood over Naruto. He then looked at the class. "We'll be going over transformation jutsus as today's pop quiz." Everyone seemed to have grabbed a book and throw them at Naruto when they started climbing down the stair. A blonde-haired young woman was seen glaring at her boyfriend and wonder why he does these things. "She'll have to ask later." Several minutes later. "Okay Naruto, you know what to do." Naruto sighed, but then he had a huge grin on his face. The blonde-haired woman saw the look her boyfriend gave their teacher and sighed. "This isn't going to be good," she softly muttered. Naruto placed his hands into a sign. "Transform," Naruto yelled out, and in a puff of smoke stood the form of a naked Shizune. Iruka saw this, and not only did he have a nosebleed, he was sent flying back into the wall. The blonde behind Naruto started growling, walked up to her boyfriend just as the jutsu was dropped and smacked him over the head with a flying pan. "You idiot," she yelled out at him. "What the hell was that?" Naruto looked up at his girlfriend and sweat dropped. "Hi Ino-chan," Naruto said with a blush. "That was my Naruto get a chance to say anything as Iruka woke up and by using his big head no jutsu yelled at Naruto. "Don't waste your time on stupid jutsu," he yelled out. Later. Naruto was walking his girlfriend home after their date later that night. Naruto of course had to clean his mess after school was over, but he was done in time for his date. "Hun, are you scared?" she asked him. Naruto looked at her and had a smile on his face. "Maybe, it's not the first time I failed though." His girlfriend held his hand as they walked the street. "I may have to fail this one as well, Ino-chan." Ino looked at him with wide eyes. She was about to say something, but was stopped as Naruto gave her a gentle kiss on her lips. Ino started to moan a little as Naruto ran his hands up and down Ino's hips and thighs. Sadly, all too soon Naruto broke off the kiss when he felt someone behind him. "Can I help you?" Naruto asked with an edge in his voice. "I'm sorry, however the Hokage wishes to see you," was all that the ninja said before he left again. Ino looked at Naruto with a sad look in her eyes. Naruto smiled and kissed her again, however this time it was light, but it was still filled with his love for her. "I'll walk you home first," he said as they continued to walk back to Yamanaka flower shop. Yamanaka flower shop back porch. Naruto was gently kissing Ino again before he had to go. Once the kiss ended he held her for a few minutes before he said, "I love you." Ino smiled at him and hugged him some more. She pulled back and placed his hand on his cheeks. "I love you too, hun, but you better go," Ino said as she stepped back. "You know how the two of them get when you're late." Ino smiled as she saw Naruto frown, but he didn't say anything. He watched as she walked into her house. "Let's go," Naruto said in a calm voice to another ninja that had been following them. Hokage Tower few minutes later. "This had better be good, old man, or I'm going to be pissed," Naruto said as he walked in. A file was thrown to him by Hiruzen. "We found the spy," was all that he said. "This will be the last time I ask you to fail the exam, Naruto." With a sigh, Naruto opened up the folder to find Mizuki Tuji. Naruto frowned. "So it was him?" Naruto asked. Hiruzen nodded. "I knew something was wrong when I kept getting the wrong tests, or the fact that he lets the fight Sasuke and I get into go. Even after 2 years Sasuke Uchiha still wanted to fight him. At first it pissed Naruto off, but as the time passed Sasuke got somewhat better, not much though. I want you to fail tomorrow." He saw the look on Naruto's face and held up his hand. "Listen son, we believe that Mizuki knows the location of Orochimaru. If we can get him to talk, then we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Hiruzen said. Naruto sighed. "Alright, but after we get Mizuki you make me a full genin," Naruto said, putting the folder down. "I'm tired of sitting back waiting for something to happen." Hiruzen smiled as he nodded. "I already have the paperwork ready for you," the aged Hokage said. "I like to thank you for your help in secretly training the troops, Naruto. Because of you they are now on their toes." Naruto grinned and throw up a peace sign. Naruto apartment a few minutes later. Naruto had to go and find his sensei to tell him the bad news. Luckily Naruto knew where to look and it pissed him off to know that the two of them was sleeping together. With a loud knock on Shizune's door, Naruto opened it just a little. "Hey sis," Naruto asked softly with the door open a crack. "What, Naruto?" Shizune asked softly. She didn't like it when Naruto sounded sad, but then again she knew something was wrong. "I need to speak with sensei, can you send him out?" Shizune looked to her left and saw her fiancé with his eyes open and a nod. "Sure Naruto, let me get dressed first." The door closed and Shizune turned the light on. "Something's wrong." Haruka looked at her and nodded as he put on some sweatpants and a shirt. "It has to be important if he woke us up. Go see him, I'll be out in a few." Haruka nodded and left the room. Haruka made his way to the dining room where Tsunade was glaring at her grandson. Shizune said she'll be out in a few minutes. Naruto nodded. He took out a folder while waiting for his sister. Once she sat down next to Haruka, Naruto started to tell them about his meeting with the Hokage and who the spy was. Tsunade wasn't happy with that at all. "What the hell is that old man thinking anyways?" she said. "You're not ever a genin and you've been doing missions for him since you came back," the medic ninja said. Naruto looked at his grandmother and sighed. "It was my choice to make, and nothing is higher than AD rank, well except for this lost one anyways," Naruto said. Konoha Ninja Academy next day. Naruto sat next to Ino as they watched Haruka and Mizuki into the room. Naruto held Ino's hand in his to reassure her that everything was going to be okay. Earlier that same day Naruto had told Ino what was going on. Ino, being his loving girlfriend, told him to do his best. Naruto for his part didn't want to waste any time when it came to the test, so Naruto did what he did best. He slept. Ino glared at her boyfriend and that at Shikamaru and said, "If he starts acting like you, you're dead." Shikamaru blinked at Ino and said, "Troublesome, that is what you are, just plain troublesome." With that he too fell asleep. After all, he would rather be outside watching the clouds instead. Ino sighed and decided to lay Naruto's head on her lap. The last 2 years really went by so fast. About a month after Naruto came back to the village, he met Ino in a field where he was tending to some flowers. Ino had only seen one person out in this field, and that was Sakura before she became a Sasuke fangirl. Ino and Naruto hit it off from the start. A month after they meet, Naruto asked her out on a date. Ino said yes, and the two had been together ever since. Sure, like some couples they had fights, but this was because Naruto did something to get into trouble. The truth test of their relationship came when Naruto told her about holding both Kyubi and his sister Kitsuna. Ino saw the look in Naruto's eyes, thinking that his girlfriend was going to break up with him. Ino surprised Naruto by grabbing the front of his shirt and kissed him deeply and full of love. Naruto was everything Ino had ever wanted in a boyfriend, and she was damn lucky she found him first. She gently brushed some hair out of his eyes. Even though she was young, Ino now knew that Naruto was the one. One day she was hoping to be Mrs. Ino Naruto Uzumaki. Several hours later, Hokage Tower, 6:30 p.m. Hiruzen sighed. It was over for now. Mizuki was caught and, like the old ninja thought, tried to blame Naruto for stealing the scroll. Hiruzen stood up and handed Naruto his paperwork. Everything is now in order, he said. You are now a genin. Naruto smiled and bowed to the old man. Hopefully in 6 months you'll make chunin. Naruto grinned at that. You better believe it, Naruto yelled out. Naruto apartment sometime later. As soon as Naruto walked in, he was hugged by Ino. Hugging her back, Naruto smiled at her before getting hit over the head by Shizune. Sis, what was that for? Naruto whined. He then looked behind her to see Iruka covered in bandages. Oops. Shizune crossed her arms and looked at her little brother. Iruka placed a hand on her shoulder. It's okay, dear, Lady Tsunade said she could have me fully healed by tomorrow night. Naruto's sensei said. Shizune turned to him and glared at him. That night was full of laughter as Tsunade and Shizune told Ino and Iruka about Naruto growing up, much to the blonde's embarrassment. When Tsunade, Iruka and Shizune all went to bed, Naruto stood up. I guess I should get you home, he told her. Ino shook her head. I told Dad I was going to stay the night at a friend's house. Ino stood up and looked Naruto in the eyes. She then kissed him lovingly on the lips. Naruto returned the kiss and looked her in the eyes. Are you sure? Ino laughed as she held onto Naruto. Silly, I'm staying the night but we're not going to make love, Ino said as she looked at Naruto. Goofball. Yes, I'm sure I want to just sleep with you, we're a little young to be doing anything else just yet. Naruto blushed as Ino picked up her night bag. Go ahead and get ready, I'll be there in a few minutes, Ino said as she made her way to the bathroom. Naruto walked to his own room and changed into a pair of sweatpants. As he was getting the bed ready, Ino walked in wearing dark purple pajamas. Ino stopped when she saw that Naruto wasn't wearing a shirt. She then saw a long scar going down his back. Walking up to him, she traced the scar and asked, "What happened?" Naruto looked at her and then felt her figure run down the scar he knew was still there. Some bandits were attacking a small girl and her mother a few years back. Ino's eyes widened. I was doing a lookout as part of my training when I heard a small girl cry out for help. Naruto sat down on the edge of his bed. I took a hit to the back when I protected the little girl. Ino sat next to him. It was Naruto. Why didn't I know? Ino thought to herself. Naruto moved over a little bit and Ino laid down next to him. You don't like to talk about your training much, Ino said as she laid her head on his chest. She placed his hand right over his heart. There isn't much I can tell you. I've been training ever since I was 2. Naruto said, petting her hair. I did get to see a lot of the world though. Ino smiled. She looked at Naruto and said in a soft voice, will you take me on a trip one day? Naruto looked at her. You only have to ask. He then kissed her softly, earning a soft moan from Ino. When the kiss broke, Ino laid her head back down on Naruto's chest. Sleep soon took them over and they both fell into a peaceful sleep. Hokage Tower the next morning. Naruto yawned as he handed in his paperwork and picture. There was a lot of things Naruto couldn't put on the file and then there was the things that he could. Hiruzen was looking over the details of what was on the paper. Everything seems to be in order, however. Hiruzen looked at Naruto as the young man was sitting in his chair with his eyes closed. Why did you hide most of your skills? Naruto opened his eyes and looked at the old man with a smile on his face. A ninja's best weapon is the one he hides, Naruto said. If people don't know what I can do, unlike you, they never know what to expect. Naruto stood up and threw a kunai at the door, scaring a young boy. Naruto's sweat dropped. Oops, sorry about that, Naruto said, looking down. Hey kid, want to see something really cool? The kid nodded as he watched Naruto grin. Ninja centerfold. Naruto yelled out and turned into a 16-year female version of himself. This caused Hiruzen to fall down backwards with a nosebleed. Konoha Park some time later. Kono, I understand that you want to be Hokage, but do you even know what that means? Naruto asked a panting Konohamaru. The kid looked at Naruto and shook his head. Naruto handed him a bottle of water and sat next to him. Being the Hokage is a great responsibility, Naruto said, looking at the face of the fourth. It means that you have to be strong, not for yourself but for the village. He looked at the kid and smiled some more. It means that before yourself you have to think about the lives you want to keep safe. When the worst has to come, you have to sacrifice your life to protect your loved one. Konohamaru nodded. As Naruto sat back down, the kid looked at Naruto, and wondered why he wanted to be Hokage, but before he could ask, Ebisu jumped down in front of him and started to say things that were pissing Naruto off. Enough, Naruto yelled at Ebisu. It's no wonder the kid wants to get away from you. Naruto walked up to the man and looked him in the eyes. Sure, it's true that he has to work hard, but a shortcut. Bullshit. Naruto then grinned as he called for his shadow clones. What followed pretty much put Ebisu in the hospital for blood lost. Naruto looked at Konohamaru and smiled at the kid. He then told him that if he wanted to become Hokage he would have to get by Naruto first. Hokage Tower. Tsunade watched as his grandson become friends with Hirazen's grandson. She couldn't help but smile. She then frowned seeing Naruto use his ninja centerfold on Nohamaru's teacher. That's it, he's grounded, Tsunade said with a tick showing. Hirazen just laughed that off and handed Iruka and Shizune their wedding papers. The newlyweds looked at Tsunade, they almost feel sad for Naruto. Almost. Shizune watched her little brother and smiled. We should go, dear, we still have to pack before we leave tomorrow. Shizune said to her new husband. Chapter 4, Teens in a Dance. 10 years ago. The smell of burning flesh burned into his nose. Before him stood a man with long sliver hair. He couldn't see his face since it was covered by a mask. That and the fact that his eyes were hurting after he saw a large explosion. Tsunade, you and Naruto get out of hurt, I'll cover you. He said as he lifted up his headband. The little guy eyes looked bad. He could see the worried look in his eyes. Naruto didn't understand why everything was red and blurry. You be careful, Kakashi. The blonde said as she took the 3-year-old Naruto with her. She looked down to see her little one with tears of blood running from his eyes. If she didn't help him right now he could go blind. Suddenly a man wearing a different headband jumped out at Tsunade with a kunai in hand and was aiming for her heart. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Naruto shot up in his bed so fast that he accidentally knocked Ino, who had decided to spend the night again, onto the floor. The sleepy blonde-haired young woman looked at her boyfriend. Hun, what's wrong? This wasn't the first time Naruto had nightmares, and she knew it. Nightmare. She guessed right and was at his side as she sat on the edge of their bed. It was about the night my eyes were damaged. Ino nodded, although he can see fine he was sensitive to anything really bright. It was one of the things he told her about his training. Ino laid Naruto's head on her lap and gently brushed his hair. Did you ever found out what happened to him? Ino asked. She didn't want to, but she had to try and calm Naruto down. After all, it won't do to have your boyfriend fall asleep while the teams were being called out. It wasn't long but Naruto was soon back to sleep. Ino watched over him some more before laying him back on the bed. She laid back down beside him and held him in his sleep. She smiled as she kissed his lips and closed her eyes as well. They had a long day ahead. Unknown to the two of them, Tsunade had watched the whole thing through the door that was only open a small crack. It wasn't that she didn't trust Naruto, it was the fact that it had been several years ago was the day that his eyes was damaged. Now that Tsunade thought about it, that was the same day Naruto's eyes was starting to show signs of a Dujutsu bloodline, a bloodline that was seen in only one other person, and he kept it well hidden. Tsunade knew just how powerful Naruto really was, he was wise to keep it hidden. Tsunade looked down at her request. If there was one thing Naruto liked, it was a challenge. She had hoped that by taking on a team herself while she was in training herself, she can give Naruto the challenge that he so needed. Konoha Academy. Few hours later. Naruto and Ino walked in hand as they had always done for the last 2 years. Taking his seat in the back, Naruto sat next to one of his friends. Shikamaru Nara, who looked at him and then at the headband, only said one word. Troublesome. Naruto and Ino grinned at him. Hey dumbass, what are you doing here? Asked a boy with brown hair and a white puppy on his head. You needed to have graduated to be here. Ino glared at Kiba Inuzuka and was about to say something when Naruto stopped here and then he pointed to his headband. I did a makeup test and passed. Naruto said with a grin. After all, I'm the best there is at what I do. Kiba looked at the blonde and smirked. He then said to his friend. What's that kissing Ino's butt? The two blushed. Hey Kiba, say hello to your girlfriend for me. Naruto said. He grabbed Kiba by the front of his jacket. Sasuke, hey look up. Just as Sasuke looked up, Naruto threw Kiba right at him. This caused two things to happen, one being that Kiba had kissed Sasuke thanks to the throw that Naruto did. The next thing that had happened was that Kiba was then getting beaten up by Sasuke's fangirls. Ino looked at Naruto. I swear, how the hell did he found out about us? Ino was stopped as Naruto looked at her and pointed to his nose. He must have smelled my scent on you. Naruto said. He knows it, not that type of scent though. Ino relaxed a little. Just as things was about to get loud again, Iruka walked in with a clipboard. Okay, so this is the last time I will be saying this, so. A tick mark appeared on his forehead. Everyone shut the hell up and sit down. A few seconds later everyone was in their seats. Uruka looked at his class for the last time. He then cleared his throat with a cough and then looked at the clipboard. This year class will have a few chances to it. He started out. Normally, you would wait for your Junin sensei. Everyone expect the following people will remain here. Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, Hinata Hyuga. Everyone looked at the three as they got up. You are being trained by Tsunade. Everyone turned to Naruto when they heard a loud banging sound. Guys, good luck, that woman is a slave driver. Naruto said. Everyone gave him a questioning look. I was already trained by her, if anyone can make you the best it's her. Sasuke had a smirk on his face. Sakura was looking at Sasuke and Hinata looked like she was going to pass out. As the three left, Uruka looked at those that had remained behind. I'll make this quick. Tonight the Hokage is hosting a graduation party for you and the three that had just left. All the girls looked happy while a few of the guys looked at the girls. Some like Shikamaru didn't care. I think I'll pass this one. Shikamaru said. Uruka looked at the boy and said. You can't, this will also be a test to see who you work well with. He then started passing out information on the party. You are to meet at training ground 15 at 7:30. Naruto looked at the information. If what Uruka said was true, then this test was on teamwork. This probably meant that at some point the party was going to be attacked. Makes sense if you think about it. Hey sensei, won't that be ranked as a class C or above? Naruto asked. Uruka looked at Naruto and nodded. I can't tell you when the attack will happen. However I can tell you to bring blunt weapons. Everyone looked at each other. Naruto was right, it was a test. Uruka said it was a test in teamwork, but what else was there? He looked at Ino. There was only one way to find out. A few minutes later, training grounds 15. Naruto watches several people started to set things up for the party. He was hidden well in the shadows so that no one could see him. He was watching for traps and such things like that. What is the point in all of this? Naruto thought to himself. Everything I have ever was based on teamwork. What are you pulling, old man? Naruto knew that this idea had to come from Hiruzen, and his grandmother. She had always talked about how Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, wanted to do something like this as a genin test. Now seems that it was coming true. I have to keep my eyes open tonight. I'm sorry Ino-chan, you mean the world to me, but this is a test. Not seeing anything that could give the test away, Naruto left. Unknown to him, Hiruzen was watching him the whole time, and when he saw Naruto leave he signaled the others to start. The old Hokage couldn't believe that Tsunade wanted to do something different as a way to test the new genin. It was something easy and could be an easy C to B ranked mission. It was to protect someone at a party test. The scenario is easy. A young man wished to hire ninja for protection as he got married. He had received a letter saying that he would be killed if he didn't pay up. The test would be that Hiruzen himself was the one that needed to be protected, while several other Chunin and Junin would play the attackers. This will also test out who would well together. Hiruzen knew all too well how personalities could collide with one another. It was one of the reasons as to why so many teams after failed in the last few years. Hiruzen before he retired wanted to 66% rate down. If only half the teams passed that would be better, but he wanted more. If this test fails his expectations, he would have to redo the academy studies. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX ninja troops. They were far from ready, but in the next 6 months they will be. He'll have to make sure of it. By the end of the year Konoha will fall. He looked at a file that was handed to him earlier in the day and smiled. Sasuke Uchiha would be prefect for him. He then looked at another file marked Naruto Uzumaki. There was no information about the boy yet other than he had left with Tsunade and that fool Jiraiya. In other words, Naruto was also prefect for him. So what if he had to wait a few years for Sasuke? He could have both. After taking a closer look at the boy, the man's already paled some more and the grin on his face grew. Well, Minato, you never told me that you had a son. He said to himself. Right away he knew very well that the upcoming Chunin exams were going to be prefect. Konoha, 5 p.m. Everything was sent to go. Naruto looked into a mirror. He was wearing a black tuxedo, and a red tie. Naruto tired combing his hair, but for some reason it just won't stay down. Naruto sighed. Sometime he missed his ponytail. He looked at his watch and smiled. He was picking Ino up at her house soon and then the two would be making their way to the training hall. Naruto looked at the weapons that hung nearby. A blunt weapon was still lethal, and Naruto wanted to make sure none of the other ninja was hurt too badly. Taking a bow staff from the rack, he activated the seal on his arm and placed it there for faster use. On his training journey, Naruto and his small family went to the destroyed village of Whirling Tides. This was the home of his mother, Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto was there to learn more about sealing techniques that Jiraiya couldn't have taught him before. It was also there that Naruto found his clan summoning scrolls. Inside one scroll was the pendant that Naruto wore all the time. The other scroll held a powerful sword with the summoning in it. Naruto was barely able to pass both tests by the time he was 10, a few days before he returned to his birth home. Naruto shook his head. Before he left the land of his mother he had made a promise to restore the Uzumaki name. As Naruto left his room he saw a note on the table addressed to him. Naruto read it and blushed a little at what his grandmother had said. "You're one to talk, grandmother," Naruto muttered to himself. Naruto looked at the clock and swore under his breath. Grabbing his house keys, Naruto made a mad dash out of the apartment and after locking the door ran down the street to the flower shop to pick up his date. When Naruto got to the flower shop, Naruto had to stop. Standing at the door was Inochi Yamanaka, Ino's father. "Oh man," Naruto thought. "I am so dead if he had found out about us sleeping together." Naruto had a panic look on his face until he heard a voice. "Hinata, it's okay, he doesn't know, calm down." The voice was none other than Ino's. A few months ago the two had found out that they shared a telepathic link with one another. No one could explain it. Ino even went to her clan's archives to see if anything like this has ever happened. She was still looking though. Naruto calmed down a little, but then he saw the kunai in his hand and the panic started up again. Ino started making his way to Naruto. Well, he would have if it wasn't for Inochi's wife, Shara, who threw a frying pan at his head. "Behave, dear," she told her husband. She then looked at Naruto and smiled. "My Naruto, you look great tonight," Shara said. She walked up to Naruto and fixed his tie a little. "There, that's better. Ino will be down in a few minutes, so please have a seat in the family room." An hour later. Saw the two walking down the street to the training grounds. Good thing the party starts at 7:30. Naruto thought to himself. Ino had taken a little long than she normally would for a date. Seeing as how Naruto reacted when she finally came down the stairs though was well worth the wait. Ino was wearing off-the-shoulder purple dress with white roses near the hem of the dress. She wore the earrings that he had gotten her for her birth and the necklace he gotten for Christmas. She wore high heels that were just an inch high. The two had just arrived just as the Hokage was about to give a speech. The two of them made their way to the front of the room. "First off, I have made a mistake since there are a lot of you this year. One team will have 4 members as a genin team." Hiruzen started out by saying this caused a lot of the teens to look around. "I know who will be on whose team by the end of the night, now I will tell you the rules for this test." Hiruzen then started to explain things to the teens. It was a simple protection mission, however Naruto knew that this type of missions could go easily from AC rank mission to AS rank in a heartbeat. After everything was explained, the teens of Naruto's class went to the dance floor while Naruto, Choji, Ino, and Shikamaru stayed on alert. In the corner of the ballroom, there stood a man with sliver hair and was wearing a mask. His Konoha headband was covering his left eye as he watched not only his daughter, but also Naruto as well. A few hours later. For several hours now everything was going fine. There were no attacks and everyone seemed to have fun. Naruto had even made a few clones to keep watch on things and had asked Ino to dance to a few slow songs that were playing at the time. Then it happened. Just before the call of midnight. A large explosion, which was a genjutsu, rocked the place and panic started to fill some of the teens. Naruto, Choji, Ino and Shikamaru all jumped a while and surrounded their leader. Hiruzen stood in the middle of this 4-man team like it was nothing. Then Naruto broke rank and started to attack a ninja that was henge into several bandits. Naruto ducked under one bandit and punched him in the stomach, causing him to bend over. The next bandit got tagged out when a wooden kunai hit him. Naruto turned back to see Ino smile at him, and with that Naruto was back to protecting Hiruzen. The fighting lasted for a long time. Each of Naruto classmates was doing well until the mission went from AC rank to AB rank mission. When a ninja henge as a missing ninja from other village came in and started to attack the kids. Most of the new rookies didn't make it past, and those that did were killed in action. Only Naruto, Choji, Ino, Shikamaru, and Team Tsunade as they were called, as well as Kiba, Shino and a white-haired teen with silver and brown hair stood up to protect the Hokage. Soon the lights were turned on and clapping was heard. Everyone turned to see the Hokage smile at them. "Well done, young ones," he said. "You have been well trained in what you needed to do." Several of the bandits stood back up and also gave Naruto and the others a round of applause. "You 10 have passed your test. You are to meet at the Hokage Tower tomorrow for your full team," Hiruzen said. With that said, the party was over and everyone made their way out. Ino had her hands wrapped around Naruto's shoulder, while he had his around her waist. "Well, that was fun," Naruto said. Ino just nodded, too tired to say anything. My place or yours? Ino blushed at that. Baka, that's not something you say to a lady. Ino said, lightly smacking Naruto on the head. You better take me home. I got yelled at by daddy again for not telling him I was stay at your house. Naruto sighed. Guess I'll miss you having you next to me. Naruto said as he lightly kissed her on the lips. Ino seemed to have purred into the kiss. When they broke, the two of them made their way to the flower shop to say goodnight to each other. Naru, what are the chances of us being on the same team? Ino asked. Naruto thought about it. It was very good seeing as how the four of them worked well together. Sure, there was a little problem here and there, but for the most part Naruto and Ino kept their focus on the mission rather than each other. Sorry, I'm not too sure on it. Naruto said as he gave her a hug. I would say a good chance, but I'm not sure. Naruto said. We'll have to wait and see tomorrow though. With that said, Naruto kissed Ino goodbye and waited until she was in her home before he left. Naruto's apartment. When Naruto got home, he could tell that his grandmother was already there. Sake bottles were on the table and the air smelled like it too. Naruto sighed. His grandmother wasn't what you would call an alcoholic, but she did act like it sometimes. Cleaning off the table and then placing his jacket on the back of one of the chairs, Naruto went to his room to gather some of his things. Tomorrow was going to be a busy day. He was finally going to be placed on a team. As Naruto gathered his things, he looked at the bed. Tonight was going to be lonely without Ino beside him, but even the young blonde knew that if they stayed like that, things could happen, things that they knew they were not ready for. Good night, Ino. I love you, Naruto said to her side of the bed. Good night, Naruto, I love you too. Naruto heard her say in his mind. With a smile, Naruto made his way to the bathroom to get ready for bed. To be continued. Well, here's the next chapter. Once again, an idea from my other work has made its way into my story. Really, I find the bell test to be boring, and it's usual the same thing. Okay, so here's the deal. I need your thoughts on something. Should I do the wave act or different mission altogether? I have this idea that Naruto and his team gets sent to sand along with Hiruzen as protection while he talks to the cage. While there, Naruto and his team meets up with Gaara and his siblings and they share stories about Naruto's training there. However, if I do waves, it will only be the same. So this time you need to review to let me know what you want to read. Naruto Adventure in Sand or the Wave Arc. If I get enough reviews, I'll start writing up the winning chapter and have it out by Tuesday. Okay, that's all I'm saying for now. Until next time. Chapter 5, Trip to Suna. Hokage Tower, 7 a.m. Naruto and the other came to the tower as they were told. There was going to be two teams, Shino Kiba and a girl a year younger than them whose name was Abi Hatake. Was going to work under Kakashi Hatake, Abi's father. As for Naruto, Choji, Ino and Shikamaru, they stared at the Hokage like he had lost his head or something. Wait, you want me to do what? Naruto asked as he looked at his leader. Sir, with all due respect, have you lost your freaking mind? Anbu, leave, the old Hokage said. 4 men left the room and a seal was activated to keep any sound from leaving the room. Hiruzen looked at the young blonde and with a smile he said. Naruto, you have been training ever since you were 1. Naruto nodded at this, causing Shikamaru and Choji to look at him. You have more techniques than a seasoned Junin. Again, it looked like Shikamaru and Choji was having a hard time believing all of this. You're smart, maybe not as smart as Shikamaru here. Naruto looked at said Nara but didn't say anything. What the Hokage said next pretty much shocked the two even more. Naruto, you have the most powerful dujutsu that has ever been known. Hiruzen turned to Naruto and placed his hands on the desk. I want you to lead this team. Fox Hunt. Chapter 5, Trip to Suna. Naruto sighed. That's good and all, sir, but I'm a genin myself. Naruto said. I don't think that their parents will take too kindly to a 13-year-old teaching their kids. Hiruzen could only smile. Besides, my girlfriend is on this team. Ino glared at Naruto. Don't you dare play favorites, she said looking at him. Naruto, think about it. You are the most powerful that and you have been training ever since you were little. She walked up to him and bowed. I want you to train us, sensei. Choji was eating some chips when he said. You know more about skills than anyone else. After he finished his bag, he crumbed it up and tossed the bag into the trash without looking. I'll give you a chance as long as you don't put me on a diet. Shikamaru had his hands in his pockets. This is so troublesome, but they have a point. Everyone looked at Shikamaru. I'll give you a shot, just to be too troublesome. Naruto sighed. He then looked at the Hokage once more. Fine, I'll train them. Hiruzen smiled. But I'm not going to go easy on you. He looked at his team. You train under me, you will be trained hard. Naruto then turned to Hiruzen. Sir, I would like to ask you for permission to train them in Training Grounds 44. Hiruzen thought about this. This was risky, but since Naruto knew that Anko, a Junin, pretty much made that train ground her home. Still it was the safest place against prying eyes goes. Naruto, the training grounds is risky, are you sure? The Hokage asked. Naruto nodded. I can keep the fact that I'm their sensei a secret and train them hard. Do worry, I have a safe place to train the in. Hiruzen thought about it. The tower at the center of the forest was a safe place and training there would be easy. Naruto turned to his team. Guys, Ino, listen. In order to do this you will have to pack for about 2 months. At the questioning look on their faces Naruto just smiled. I want the 3 of you to be ready for the Chunin exams in 6 months. Hiruzen gave Naruto a questioning look at that. Naruto, can you make sure that your team will be ready in 3 months? I will be making a special trip to Suna for said exams. Naruto looked at Hiruzen and thought about it. From here and back it would take a month. Naruto didn't know how long that the meetings will take, but Naruto grinned. Sure, they'll be ready by that time. After all, I plan to teach them the Kage Bushin. The 2 boys looked at Naruto. Ino smiled as she knew what was to come. I know it's risky, but if they can make 2 of them it could work. Naruto said. Do not overdo it. The skill level of that skill is high. Naruto nodded. I'll warn them of the dangers, but it could help them also. Naruto turned around and looked at his team. Okay, I want you to go pack for about 3 months. Pack light, don't worry about food, I'll take care of that. Naruto said. After his team left, Naruto turned back to Hiruzen. This is a big risk you put me in. Naruto said. I'll use a clone and a henge to make it look like a real sensei is training them when we come back. Hiruzen nodded. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX had said he would. The first thing that Naruto did was teach them about how important teamwork was. So Naruto had them start off by rebuilding the tower that was in the middle of the forest. He then taught them how to control their chakra better. He not only had them run up and down a tree a few times, but when Shikamaru or Ino would complain, he had them wear weights that were about 20 pounds and make them run up and down the trees for the rest of the day. At first Naruto did not want to be hard on his girlfriend. However, after Ino pretty much smacked him a few times, Naruto started training Ino just as hard. The end result was that Team NCIS, as they like to call themselves, was way above Genin level. In another 3 months Naruto would sign them up for the Chunin exam. During the training Naruto and Ino grew even closer. It was because of this that Naruto needed to tell his team about something. 2 months ago. Naruto sat at the table as his teammate. Ino sat next to him holding his hand. Naruto needed to tell Shikamaru and Choji about the foxes. Once the two of them was done, they sat there looking at Naruto. "What I am about to tell you is a double S secret," Naruto said. "You all know about the attack about 13 years ago, right?" The two nodded. "What they did tell you was that Kitsune and the fourth didn't just stop the fox. The fourth had to seal it." Shikamaru nodded. Choji was eating a other bag of chips. "The fact is, during the Kyubi attack, the fourth was badly injured during the assault." Naruto stopped for a few seconds. With the loss of blood and no way of stopping the fox, the fourth decided to seal the fox into a newborn baby. Choji and Shikamaru thought about what Naruto had just told them. "Stupid blonde, we couldn't hate you for something like that," Shikamaru said. After he said that, a plate hit Shikamaru in the face. "Troublesome blondes." Naruto then told them about Kitsune and how she was accidentally also sealed along with her brother into Naruto. However, before the seal did its job, she had given a gift to Naruto. "That gift is what made me so powerful," Naruto said as he took off his sunglasses. Everyone but Ino gasped. Naruto's eyes were a deepest of blue you could have ever seen. However, what really caught their eyes was the fact that they looked more like cat's eyes, or in this case fox eyes. Naruto's eyes flashed red for a second and his eyes had changed. They now had 5 rings around the slit fox-like pupil. Shikamaru nearly fell out of his chair as he glared at Naruto. "What the hell is that?" Naruto smiled and had asked Shikamaru to sit down. "This is what made the Sage of the Six Paths so powerful. The Rinnegan," Naruto said as he took a sip of his water. "However, I think it may have elements of the Sharingan." As Naruto said that, his eyes went back to normal. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX and Naruto and his team were getting their first mission. Naruto felt bad about this though. There were other teams out there that could do this. A part of Naruto was happy that they would be going to Suna, however the place was still dangerous. He just hoped that the friends he made there was still alive. Naruto nodded on the door and heard, "Enter," from the aged Hokage. Naruto and his team entered the room and found that there was a meeting going on. Sorry, but if this is a bad time I could come back later. Naruto said. Naruto was about to leave when Hiruzen called out. Wait Naruto, we're just about to finish up here. Naruto nodded as Hiruzen turned to Tsunade. Okay Tsunade, so you know what to do. Naruto's grandmother nodded. Yeah, pretend that this is a C-rank mission, find Gato and end his life. Naruto blinked at his grandmother. I wonder how the old drunkard is doing. Naruto tilted his head a little to the right. You may leave now Tsunade. Tsunade smiled at Naruto and left. Naruto shot a questioning look at the old Hokage. Sorry, mission's secret and all, was what he said. Naruto nodded. He was then handed a folder. This will have the detail of the mission we will be on. Naruto opened the folder and read it. Anbu will be joining us of course, however since this is your mission they will not interfere, useless, you need it. Again Naruto nodded as Hiruzen took out his pipe. Once we're in Suna though, you and your team will have a few days to relax, I heard that the hot springs are to die for. Naruto grinned at that. Several years ago Naruto did something while in the middle of training when suddenly Naruto overused a high-level water ninjutsu and pretty much flooded the area he was in. That in itself would be health for the village, however the water was far from normal. Glad to know it wasn't a total mistake, Naruto said. Naruto looked over the mission briefing before closing it up. Your son will be our sensei? Naruto asked. Hiruzen looked at Naruto and nodded. Wondering how he was doing since I last saw him. Hiruzen just smiled. He then said, we'll be leaving tomorrow, so be at the south gate at 7. Any questions? Naruto thought about it for a few minutes. After he was done thinking he looked at the Hokage and said, I have a faster way of getting to Suna. Hiruzen nodded, not a bit surprised that Naruto would since the young man had been there. I'll use one or both of my summons to get us there in half the time. Naruto said with a grin. It was about time he taught his team how to summon. Next day, South Gate. When Hiruzen had gotten to the gate with his Anbu guard he smiled. Naruto and his team were already there and waiting for him. Naruto did a quick count and then nodded. I'll have to use about 2 of them but it shouldn't be a problem. Naruto said. Choji was about to ask Naruto what he was talking about, but stopped when Naruto brought out a sword. I summon thee, Hotaru. Suddenly the lettering on the blade started to glow and a beam of light shot up into the sky and a loud cry of a bird was heard. That was when they saw it. A giant eagle-like bird flew down and landed near Naruto. He walked up to the bird and started petting her feathers. Hey, do you think that you can take us to Suna? He asked her. The bird looked at the group. I can only carry 5 of you. The bird said. Ino blinked a few times and asked her boyfriend. What is that? She asked. Naruto looked at her and smiled. This Ino is Hotaru, she's a phoenix. Everyone's eyes seemed to widen at that. Hello Hotaru, I'm Ino, it's very nice to meet you. Hotaru bowed to the young woman. Hotaru looked like an eagle with different colors. She was red and golden in color and she had the prettiest color eyes that you have ever seen. Hotaru is a summon. I'll be teaching you more about them when we get to Suna, which should take us a few hours. Everyone had nodded at that. The few Anbu that was around Hokage nodded. One of them said, Sir, we will go on ahead and meet you at the border in a few days. With that said they were about to leave when Naruto said. Hey hold up. They stopped and looked at the blonde. I said I would get us there in less time and I meant it. Naruto then did a few hand signs. He then cut his thumb on his teeth and run it across a seal. Summons no jutsu. Naruto yelled out and suddenly in a cloud of smoke there was a roar. When the smoke cleared there before them was a black cat-like dragon. Its yellow eyes looked at the Anbu and was about to attack them when Naruto stopped him, by scratching his neck, making the big reptile fall to the ground. This is Toothless, Naruto said. As you can see he's a dragon. Hiruzen pipe fell out of his mouth. He couldn't believe it. Naruto had 2 summons and one of the rare ones at that. It was thought that the dragon's summon scroll was destroyed a long time ago when Whirlpool was attacked. Then there was the Phoenix scroll and scroll that was said was only a legend. Lord Hokage, can you, your 2 guards, take Hotaru along with Shikamaru and Choji? Hiruzen smiled and nodded seeing at how small Toothless was. I'll take Ino along with me on Toothless. They all nodded. When Hiruzen and the others got on Hotaru they found that she had a harness of some kind. The seats of the harness were in a circle in what looked like stapes. Tie the stapes around your waist. Hotaru said. They all nodded. Naruto nodded to Hotaru and she took off. He then looked at Ino and smiled at her. Toothless, this is Ino, my girlfriend. Ino smiled at the cat-like dragon. The young couple got on the dragon. Again there was a harness with stapes. Toothless can't talk like the other dragons, but tie that strap around your waist, it'll keep you from falling off. Naruto told her. When everything was ready, Naruto told Toothless to go and in a blinding speed the dragon took off. Ino's screams filled Naruto's ear as she grabbed onto him. It wasn't long after that the dragon had caught Hotaru, and together the two summons made their way to the border of Wind Country and Fire Country. For 3 new rookies ninja, this would be their first time. For the others, they would returning to a place they have been to before. Naruto's smile dropped as he remembered something. Oh shit, she's going to kill me, Naruto said out loud. Chapter 6, Summons. In the cage office, Hiruzen looked at his longtime friend and couldn't help but feel that there was something wrong about him. Is there something wrong? Hiruzen said. The cage looked at the old ninja and shook his head. You could say that, the cage said. I've been visited by Orochimaru. Hiruzen stood up, the cage put up his hands. Please listen to me, old friend. Shortly after Naruto left a few years ago, the snake showed up offering a battle plan to attack Konoha. Hiruzen listened to the younger man as he told the Hokage about the planned attack. A few days before you came, he once again asked if we will join him. Hiruzen looked at him. I told him yes. Hiruzen was on his feet faster than anyone could see him do, and had the cage pinned to the wall. You would betray your friends? Hiruzen asked. The cage coughed out his answer. No, he said. Hiruzen let him go but kept a close eye on him. I planned it so that when the time comes, Suna and Konoha could join forces and attack the snake together. The cage moved to his desk and took out a folder. He then handed it to Hiruzen and said, why do you think that I asked you here? Hiruzen smiled. A few years okay, the cage was known to be heartless since his wife had died after childbirth, but something changed him. Hiruzen could only guess what it or he should think who the cause was for his friend's change was. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX off, he would let them stay if the cage would allow it, which was what the cage did. It was during the second week of the team vacation that Naruto had an idea. It was time for his team to get their summons. Okay, listen up, I know Hokage-sama said that we had the rest of the time here off, Naruto said to his team. Not far from them was Asuma Sarutobi. He was being the lookout for this team and to explain that he was their sensei. I think it's time that you learn how to summon. Asuma raised his eyes at that. Summoning were known to take a lot out of you, but if the rumors about what Naruto had done to teach his team was true, then they didn't really have any problems. Hate to break this to you Naruto, but the Nara clan doesn't have one. Naruto nodded. They do now. I understand that the Yamanaka and Akamichi clans doesn't have one as well. They all nodded. I'm going to change that. Naruto then took out a few scrolls. Choji, Shika, I would like you to pick out the scroll you want. Once you do, you can keep it as part of your clan summons. He then looked at Ino. I have a special scroll for you, he said as Naruto handed Ino the scroll in his hand. Ino looked at the scroll. The Tiger Clan, she asked. Naruto nodded. Why? Naruto smiled at her. Naruto sat next to her and looked her in the eyes. It's you. You're strong, brave, and beautiful. Ino blushed. At first I was going to give you the fox scroll, but seeing as how the foxes are more scouts than fighters, I didn't think it would work. Naruto finished just as Shikamaru and Choji walked up to the two. The two looked up at their teammates. I picked the wolf scroll, Choji said. Naruto nodded. He then looked at Shikamaru. With a sigh, the lazy ninja said, I picked the cheetah scroll. Again Naruto nodded. Those are some good choices. They both also have scouts in them as well as fighters. Naruto then to his team that they should practice the hand signs first before trying to summon the bosses of the scroll. Bosses are the most powerful of the summons. Each boss has less power depending on the summons, but they are all powerful nonetheless. For a few minutes the new summoners ran though the hand signs some more until Naruto called them to stop. Alright, one by one I want you to start to do your summons. The three nodded. Choji went first. There was smoke in the air and when it cleaned there in front of Choji was a pure white wolf. Who has summoned me? The wolf asked. Choji didn't look the wolf in the eyes at first as he said. I did. The wolf looked at Choji at first. The young man thought that he would become the wolf's lunch. I see. Tell me young man, what do you value most? The wolf started to say. Do you value the life of your friends the most or your own? Choji didn't have to think about it as he looked the wolf into his eyes. The life of my friends will always come before my own. If it was possible, the wolf had seemed to smile. You have passed your test, young one. My name is Kota, call on my pack and myself if you need me. With that the wolf was gone. Another puff of smoke. Naruto looked at the other two. The test will not always be easy. Shika, you're next. Shikamaru did his summons and his test was with a cheetah named Naru who was a beautiful dark-colored cheetah. His test was a foot race to the end of the field where the team was. While Shikamaru didn't win the race, he also never gave up and kept going. Why did you not give up? She asked. Shikamaru gave her a bored look. Because it would be too troublesome. The cheetah laughed at that. Because you did not give up, I will allow you to summon me. And with that she too was gone. Ino was next. She was scared at first, seeing as how her summons was from the tiger clan. But there was something inside her that told her that she would be okay. When she did her summons and the smoke cleared, there before her stood a white tiger with what appeared to be wings. She had the deepest blue eyes that you could ever see. I am Selji of the tiger clan. Summoner, come forth. Ino did as she was told. Ino did as she was told, and Selji looked into her summoner's eyes. Selji could see the life that Ino had. It was a pretty good life. She could also see that Ino had nothing but love for Naruto. Selji looked at the other blonde and smiled. Tell me, child, if an enemy ninja would to capture your family and your boyfriend and you could only save the life of one, who would you choose? Ino thought about this. She loved Naruto very much, but she also loved her family as well. Then Ino smacked herself in the head. I would save the life of my family. Ino said, looking into Naruto's eyes. Why have you chosen your family over your boyfriend? Again Ino looked at Naruto. She did see any hurt in his eyes and knew that she had said the right thing. While Naruto is very dear to me. She smacked Shikamaru and Choji with her shoes as they pretended to gag. Naruto would have wanted me to save the lives of my family before I would have to save him. Your answer is the truth. You would very well risk your lover over family. There was a small glow that surrounded the tiger. When the glow had stopped, before them stood a young woman about 15 with long white hair with black highlights. You may call on my clan when you need our aid, she said. Ino blinked at her. You had said that you would risk the life of your family. In a way you would also save the life of Naruto as well. Ino had nodded. Yes, Naruto is a part of my family. Ino said. Selji walked to Ino and placed around Ino's neck a pendant. Before Ino asked, Selji held up her hand. My clan is not what you would call normal tigers. I will tell you more when the time is right. For right now, use that pendant when you call us. With that, Selji vanished, not in a puff of smoke but into a blinding light. That was weird, Choji said. Naruto walked up to Ino and hugged her. You would have done the right thing, Naruto said. Ino gave him a small smile. Only because I knew you would have used a shadow clone. Now it was Naruto's turn to smile. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Konoha. Just because we are given time off doesn't mean that we can slack around all day and do nothing. Naruto said as his team ran through some katas. Not far from them were the Sand siblings. Team NCIS and the siblings over the last few weeks have become friends. While Naruto's team kept most of their skills hidden much like Naruto did, the two teams would often spar with each other. At first the team minus Naruto was afraid of Gaara, who from what Naruto had told them had once become bloodthirsty because of Shukaku. However, all that had changed when Jiraiya took a look at the young man's seal. It wasn't long after that Gaara had changed. It was also during this time that Shikamaru and Temari had started dating after several sparring matches that they had. Of course it was hard at first seeing as how Shikamaru was lazy with everything. At the end of their vacation though, the Kazekage and the Konoha ninja stood at the entrance to the village. The Kazekage handed Naruto a scroll. "I would like for you to give this to Sarutobi for me," the older man said to Naruto. Naruto took the scroll and placed it in a pouch on the left side of his hip. "I will, and I hope to see you at the Chunin exam next month," Naruto said. Shikamaru walked up to Temari. The two didn't say much and Shikamaru rubbed the back of his head. "I'll see you in 2 weeks," the Nara said. Temari didn't say much, just looked away. "I'll show some of Konoha's best spots." Temari smiled at him. Then she grabbed the front of his shirt and kissed him. Naruto looked at his watch waiting for the kiss to end. When the kiss had finally ended, Team NCIS left the Sand Village. They didn't pay much attention as they left, though if they did they would have seen several figures moving into the shadows. "Once we're far enough away I'll summon a few dragons to take us home," Naruto said. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX man that was in his room. These are the plans. The cage hand the man a folder. The fool really thought that I was the real cage. The man before him had pale skin and yellow eyes. He also had long black hair. He's a fool. Once I kill him, Konoha will be mine once and for all. He said. Remember, once the exam starts, I want Konoha to think that you are helping them. Once they think that they are going to win, I want you to attack them. The fake cage bowed. Yes, Lord Orochimaru. He said. Are you still planning on marking the Uchiha? He asked. The man now known as Orochimaru smiled as he took out a polder. Yes, and I will also be marking one other. That night the two made plans for the downfall of Konoha. Not knowing the sand that was made of sand in the corner or the room, nor did they see it disappear as the two started to drink. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Naruto said as he had gotten on the black cat-like dragon. The two of you can decide who will ride who. Naruto said as he pointed to two other dragons. Naruto had summoned 3 dragons for them. The 2 other dragons were small in size, however they were big enough that they can carry 1 rider each. The biggest of the 2 was red with black bat-like wings and the other was green and had no wings but was still able to run at high speeds. I'll ride Raptor, Shikamaru said as he got on the raptor-like dragon, while Choji got on the one with wings. You do know how to get home, right? Shikamaru asked. Raptor just laughed at that, then he frowned. No, it said made everyone hit the ground hard. What? I never been to Konoha before. Shikamaru sighed and then they took off. Raptor kept watch on his brothers and their riders while running at his top speed. If they had stayed just a little long they would have seen 4 figures running the same way as Team NCIS. We don't have much time. The oldest of the 4 said. We have to warn Konoha and fast. However the 4 never made it as huge snake came down on them, killing one and injuring other. They screamed soon filled the desert as the snake attacked them. Not far from the killing stood Orochimaru. Soon Sarutobi, you will be dead. Chapter 7, The Chunin Xmas Part 1. Part 1, The Gathering. It was like any other day and Team NCIS was just finishing up their training for the day, when a member of Anbu walked up to Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki, the Hokage wishes to see you, he said. Naruto bowed and then looked at his team. Okay, that's it then. I want you to practice your family fighting style when you get him. He then looked at Ino. I'll see you at the apartment later tonight. Ino grinned and nodded. Naruto then walked away from the team. Spending the night again? Shikamaru asked. Ino blushed. During the vacation training in Suna they too was caught by Choji and Shikamaru when they came into the bedroom. No, tonight we're having a birthday party for Tsunade. The other 2 blinked. Oh, that reminds me. Ino handed them both a innovation. Sorry about that. Troublesome blonde. As soon as that was said, Shikamaru was sent flying. That, Ino, is a new record. Choji said. Ino sighed. The 2 then walked off leaving Shikamaru hanging upside down from a tree. This is such a drag. Troublesome blondes. Hokage Tower. Few minutes later, Naruto walked into Hiruzen office and stood with the other senseis that were in the room. At first no one could believe that Naruto, who was a genin, was also a sensei and a very good sensei at that. Still they keep his cover as an extra student under Asuma Sarutobi. Good, now we just have to wait for Kakashi to get here. They all heard a cough from the other side of the room. When did you get here? A young woman about 27 asked the silver-haired man. About 2 seconds before Naruto. He answered. Everyone blinked at that. Okay, you got me. 2 seconds after Naruto had gotten here. That was more believable. Hiruzen looked at all the people in the room. As you know, the Chunin exams is in 2 days. All but Naruto nodded. This was the first time he heard of it. I am sorry Naruto, I meant to have told you as soon as you had gotten here. Naruto shrugged. In any case, will you be entering your team into the exams? Everyone in the room sweat dropped. They had all heard about Team NCIS. It was a secret team that was led by Naruto. However, the cause for this was top secret. The team's skills, strengths and weakness was so top secret that it was a debate on rather how good they were. Yes, Naruto said after a few minutes. I believe they are ready, and even if I do have more to teach them I can't yet. Everyone in the room nodded. Most what Naruto knows is also a secret. Hiruzen nodded, he had expected as much. Anyone else? Several other had asked to place their teams into the exams as well, and when it came time for Kakashi he was caught reading his book. I like to nominate my team as well, Kakashi said. Abi has been asking me about it lately. Iruka, who stood at Hiruzen's side, was about to say something when he remembered the fact that Naruto was going to be in the exam. Sir, is it possible to have Naruto watch over the other teams? Everyone in the room looked at the scared Chunin. Why? Another Junin asked. Iruka didn't have a happy look on his face. Naruto is the most skilled out of all the genin. I want the kids to be safe. Kakashi sighed and looked at his friend. He understood his worry though, seeing as how his own daughter would be in the exams. Iruka, you have realized that they are not your students anymore, Kakashi said to him. Naruto can't be with them in the field. Iruka had thought about it. Sure, the kids had only been in the field for only 6 months, but as far as he knew Team NCIS had only 3 months in the field. I don't like it, Iruka said, but I guess I have to live with it. Naruto walked his former teacher. Don't worry, we're all strong here, Naruto said. Mateen, well, try and watch out for the other though. Hiruzen smiled at the young blonde. See as how there is nothing more to say, you are all dismissed. As everyone started to walk out, Hiruzen looked at Naruto. He couldn't help but see Minato and Kushina in him more and more as he grew. Hiruzen looked down at his paperwork and frowned. There on the first paper was a small scroll. When he read it, the scroll only had a few words. The Cage is dead, unknown leads, will attack during third round. Sign. Jiraiya. Hiruzen sighed. He would have to be ready for when the snakes attack. He also had to warn the Council of Jackasses also. I'm getting too old for this shit, Hiruzen said as he started to do his paperwork. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX in front of their old school. It had only been 6 months ago when they had first left the place. Now they were back, however this time it was for a different test. Taking a deep breath, the team made their way into the building. "Hey, isn't that?" The question was stopped as Naruto placed his hand over Shikamaru's mouth. Naruto nodded. "It's to weed out the weak." Naruto whispered, not wanted the other to hear. After that was done, the team made their way up to the 3rd floor. They didn't go unnoticed though, seeing as how Team Tsunade, Team 8 and Team 9 had followed them. Of course Team Sight and Team 9 had a small fight that nearly made both teams late. Academy. Exam Room 301. As soon as they had walked in, Team NCIS had to stop in their tracks. The room was full of people with different headbands on. It wasn't until Naruto saw a group of Iwa ninja the warning bells started to go off in his head. "Hey guys, stay alert," Naruto said as a group of team that Naruto had not seen in over 6 months made their way to Team NCIS. Glad to see we're not the only ones here. A teen wearing a gray jacket said. A young woman with long silver hair with brown highlights looked at her teammate. "So you're the famous Team NCIS, huh?" she asked. She was looking at Choji and for some reason she had a blush on her face. Naruto blinked. Of course he had seen her before but he couldn't place her name. Be nice, after all we're going to win this thing," Kiba Inuzuka said as he walked up to them. "You wish, dog breath," Ino said as she held out her hands and the small puppy that was on Kiba's head jumped into her arms. "And how are you doing, Akamaru?" The puppy gave a few barks. Kiba had a sad look on his face. "Troublesome as always," Shikamaru said. "So who else is here?" His question was answered when Team Tsunade walked in. Naruto took one look at Sasuke and growled. Sasuke did the same. "Sasuke, please don't fight," a young woman with dark bluish-black hair said. "Well, at least until we can," a pink-haired young woman said. "Hey Ino, long time no see." Ino had to blink when she saw Sakura. Over the last few months Sakura had changed from the fangirl she once was into a powerful ninja. She was learning medical ninjutsu from her sensei Tsunade. "Hey forehead, you cut your hair." Sakura nodded. "I needed a change," was all that the pink-hair girl said. Naruto looked around. He had hoped that there would be more from his class but this seemed to have been it. "The rookie 10 huh?" Naruto said as he took another look around. Something was wrong, his danger sense was telling him to run. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" Ino asked though their shared link. "Something isn't right, my senses are telling me to run." Naruto thought back. That was when a teen with short silver hair and glasses walked up to them. Naruto didn't listen to him until Sasuke asked if he had information. "Well yes." The teen who was named Kabuto took out some cards. "Then what can you tell me about Naruto Uzumaki?" The chatter in the room all seemed to stop at once. "Uzumaki? But I thought that clan was destroyed in the Third Ninja Wars." Someone for the other side of the room said. Others started to talk about it as well. "Well, aren't you famous?" Ino said with a grin on her face, holding her boyfriend's hand. Kabuto took out his card and channeled some chakra into it. A picture of Naruto along with some information appeared. "Let's see Naruto Uzumaki. I'm afraid I don't have much on him." Naruto had enough of this. "That's because all information on me is a SS classified secret," Naruto said. Again the room seemed to have grown silent. Ino placed her arm on his shoulder trying to keep him calm. The other rookies all seemed to blink. Just as a fight was about to break out between Naruto and Kabuto, there was a loud bang and the room had filled with smoke. "Alright, listen up you little bastards. The start of the Chunin is now, so if you are about to fight then, get the hell out of here," a scared man said. Naruto glared at Kabuto. He didn't trust him any more than he did Sasuke. There was something fishy about the silver-haired teen. Then there was his scent. It was the scent of snakes, and Naruto never did like snakes. Then there was the fact that Kabuto had information on him, regardless it wasn't much. As Naruto and the rest of the team made their way to their seats, Naruto's senses were still telling him to run. Naruto had never ran from a fight in his life, he wasn't about to do so now. Naruto listened to the rules of the first test, which was a written test. Naruto didn't have any problems with this. He and Shikamaru could help Choji, and then he heard the rules. Clever, Naruto thought. So that is how the first test is. Ino heard his thoughts and was glad for the shared link. She could do the test and talk to her boyfriend at the same time. The test was on the way and Naruto was done in a few minutes. Having a grandmother and a sister really helped him when they were on the road. Shizune would teach him in the basics like spelling, grammar and other things. Tsunade would teach him math and science as well as medical ninjutsu. While Naruto isn't as smart as Shikamaru, he was up there with him. As the test went on, Naruto had to think of a few strategies that would help his team though the second test. At the 15 till mark, Ibiki had called to a stop. "Alright, stop what you're doing," he yelled out. Then next thing that they all knew was that there was a question that had yet to be answered. After hearing the rules though, several teams had bowed out. Still, but the time that the test was over, several teams were still there. "Anyone else?" Ibiki asked. Sadly no one else had left. "Well then you passed." This caused an uproar within the room. "Aw, shut the fuck up, alright, and I'll explain." After a few minutes of explaining thing, the window blew open expecting an attack. Naruto and the rest of his team stood up, weapons at the ready. As the next Junin that would take the test to appear, several kunai had pinned the woman to the broad. Chapter 8, Chunin Exams Part 2, Battle in the Forest of Death. Earlier that day, the whole room seemed to have sweat drop when the kunai pinned a woman to the chalk broad. Ibiki was on the floor laughing when he saw Anko Mitarashi. "Oh man, this one is going to go into the village newspaper," the scared Junin said. "Hey you four, normally you would have been disqualified for this, but seeing as how she wasn't hurt," Ibiki said as he took another picture of the pinned Anko, who was glaring at Naruto and his team. "I'll let you pass this once." Once the team helped Anko down and collected their kunai, they went back to their seats. "Sorry," the four said as one. Anko wanted to kick their asses for what they did. However, she couldn't since the Hokage had ordered all of the examiners not to fail Team NCIS. Truth be told, everyone who had seen the team and their work was wondering how a group of genin was so good at what they did. Some had thought that it was their team leader, Naruto Uzumaki, that was doing all the work. That wasn't the case, and of course somehow others had heard about the team as well. Team NCIS was the only genin team to do back-to-back B-rank missions. Orders or not, all the Junin would not have failed this team. "Alright you punks, follow me to training grounds 44, Anko said as she jumped out the window. Naruto and the others smiled before they seemed to have vanished. The room eyes went wide and ran out of the room after them and their new examiner. After a few seconds, Team NCIS was the first to get to the grounds. "Okay you four, how the hell did you get here so fast?" Anko said. Naruto smiled and pointed to a special seal hidden on the tree behind Anko. The young woman just sighed. After a while the other teams had started to show up. Naruto looked around but he saw no hide or hair of Gaara and his siblings. Naruto and the rest of his team listened to what Anko was saying and was then handed out release forms. "This is bullshit," Naruto thought. "I know dear, just to give out too much information," Ino told him. "Did you found them yet?" Naruto was looking around as he had a clone fill out some information. "No, and that is what got me worried." After a while though, Naruto had to give up, seeing as how the other teams was getting their scrolls. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Tamari said. Her two brothers looked at her. Gaara sighed if only there was a way for him to call on his powers. Sadly though, with the seals placed all over, that was going to be a little hard to complete. I'll figure something out, Gaara said. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX as he looked at his team. When they all said that they were fine, Naruto looked before him. Standing before them was a pale man with yellow eyes and long black hair. "Who the hell are you?" Naruto said. However, the man wasn't looking at Naruto but the sword that was now in the young man's hand. "So it's true, you do have the phoenix blade," he said. Suddenly a snake came out of his mouth, and out of the snake's mouth came a sword. Naruto glared at the guy for a few minutes. "Leave my team out of this, Orochimaru," Naruto said. "They have nothing to do with this." Ino looked at her boyfriend, then her eyes widened when she heard the name. "Sensei, we can't leave you," she said. "Ino, I need you to go and get some help," Naruto told her, though their link. "I think that Enko lady is still at the gate." Ino nodded. She then grabbed the other two and ran back to the gate to get help. "Help will be too late for you, boy," Orochimaru said. "Tell me something. How did you know that I am Orochimaru?" Naruto did look away. "There is only one person who carries that sword," was the only thing Naruto said. Orochimaru laughed. "Yes, I guess that I did give it away, didn't I?" the pale-skinned man said. "Normally I would have come here in disguise." Orochimaru started to walk towards Naruto. However, I find that I should face the son of the fourth Hokage myself. Naruto glared at him. I'm not surprised. You see, I was passed up as Hokage because of your father. Orochimaru swung his sword. Naruto moved fast and blocked it with his. The fight was on and the sound of blade meeting blade could be heard throughout the forest. Sparks flew as the two legendary blades meet. Father was the better man than you were, Orochimaru. Naruto said as he turned around, rolling sideways and punching Orochimaru in the back. Pain shot up though Orochimaru back. Damn, the boy had a powerful punch. Naruto swung his sword hoping to slice open the snake's back, however the order man brought his blade up behind him to block the attack. You got some nice moves, boy, he said. Naruto didn't say anything. What, no come back? The gem in the hilt of Naruto's sword started to glow. Yeah, I got two of them, Naruto said. Flare arrow. Naruto thrust his sword forward and flames in the shape of an arrow shot out of it. What the? Orochimaru said as the flames moved too fast for him to move. As he was caught in the flames, Naruto came in and slashed Orochimaru across the chest from right shoulder to left hip. The older man didn't scream like he should have though. Naruto had turned around just in time to block the sword Orochimaru had. The two glared at each other. I once heard that you had a gentle heart, Orochimaru. Naruto said. That you once used your knowledge for the good of the village. Orochimaru glared at Naruto. What do you know, boy? Orochimaru pushed Naruto away and slashed at him, cutting Naruto across his face. Naruto fell to the ground. Hold the wound. You know that this blade is poisoned, right? Orochimaru asked. Naruto stood up. It doesn't matter, Orochimaru, Naruto said as he looked up at him. The slashed wound went from his left temple to his right cheek. Orochimaru glared at the boy. Mostly at his eyes. I'm immune to those things, Naruto said as the wound had started to smoke and the venom could be seen dripping from it. Orochimaru was grinning. This boy was going to work out after all. However, Orochimaru's eyes widened when he saw the wound was already closed. Why don't you show me your full strength, boy? The snake hissed. You sure you want me to? Naruto said, then he vanished before Orochimaru's eyes. The snake though moved out of the way as Naruto once again reappeared behind him. Naruto was bent over, his sword was at his side. That was when Orochimaru screamed in pain. Blood was dripping from where his left arm had just fallen. Damn you! Orochimaru screamed in pain. Naruto glared at him. Cut it with the genjutsu, you ass, I'm not falling for it. The blonde warrior said. The Orochimaru that was holding his arm vanished. How? The snake asked the boy. Naruto looked at his sword. I didn't feel the impacted. Naruto answered as he ran at Orochimaru again. Only to vanish once move before he reached him. Naruto reappeared once more behind Orochimaru and this time slashed his back before he could move. Orochimaru fell to the ground. It took him a while to get back up. You are strong, Orochimaru said. I can see why my spies can't get any information on you. The snake stood up and glared at Naruto. Blood could be seen dripping from his back. But you have not yet mastered all your skills. Orochimaru ran at Naruto much faster than Naruto could have guessed. Naruto blocked the attack only to get hit in the stomach. Naruto doubled over in pain, however Orochimaru didn't let up and brought a double-fisted punch down on Naruto's back. Naruto hit the ground hard. He then rolled out of the way as Orochimaru was going to slam his foot down on him. Power isn't everything, Orochimaru, Naruto said as he got up. You have to know who and what to protect. Naruto ran at Orochimaru, ducked under his swing and did a jumping uppercut into Orochimaru's chin. This sent the older man into the air. Water dragon. The seal on Naruto's hand started to glow once more, this time a blue color. Suddenly out of the air a huge dragon made out of water came at Orochimaru. The attack had happened so fast the snake didn't have time to move out of the way. The dragon grabbed Orochimaru in its teeth, and then it turned around and slammed him into the ground. Pain shot through Orochimaru's body. Pain that he had not felt in so long. As he looked up, his Naruto hands start to glow. He had to stop him from attacking. Orochimaru still had one other person to get before the day has ended. If he wanted Sasuke, he had to finish this fight now. Elsewhere. She could feel his pain. That was how she knew Naruto was still alive. Their link, as mysterious as it were, was her way of knowing that Naruto was going to be okay. Not too long ago the team had ran into some trouble and had beaten that team in 10 seconds flat. Getting the scroll that Team NCIS had needed. Now the team was running as fast as they could to get help. Ino knew that Naruto was powerful, she knew just how powerful he was, but Naruto had no experience. All the fighting they had in the so-called B-ranked mission was so easy. That and the fact that nothing had happened. Seeing the gate up ahead, Ino had then cried for help. We need some help over here. Ino cried out. One of our teammates is in trouble and is fighting Orochimaru. Ino cried out. That when she felt it. Pain had shot up through her neck. As she grabbed it she started to fall to her knees, however Shikamaru was there to catch her. Enko came running up to the gate as soon as she heard her former master's name. You better not. When she saw that Ino was holding her neck and sweating badly she knew something was wrong. What's wrong? Ino could barely breathe. Naruto, he's badly hurt, Orochimaru did something to him. No one saw a mark appearing on Ino's neck before it disappeared. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX and kicked the young man hard in the stomach. Orochimaru then spun around, not only slashing Naruto's shoulder, but had also punched him. Orochimaru didn't have much time, he went through hand seals faster than anyone could see, and then he had bitten Naruto around the neck. For the first time in his life, Naruto had felt the worst pain he had even felt in his life. It was a horrible burning pain that had felt like it was on fire. Naruto had found himself screaming in pain. Orochimaru had stayed to see which mark that the young man would get. However, the mark that had appeared was something that had never happened before. Orochimaru's eyes had widened when the black mark suddenly had turned white and 3 feather-like marking appeared in its place. No! Orochimaru screamed as he felt his body had started to burn. What's going on here? The snake screamed in pain. Naruto was on the ground holding his neck when he heard a voice say, "Do not fear me, child, I will help you." It was a voice that he had not heard in a long time. Kitsuna. He could feel the goddess nod. I am in a fight right now, at the same time I am also purifying the power that Orochimaru has just given you. Orochimaru was about to finish Naruto off when a kunai came flying at him. Damn it. Time to go, but I will get you, Naruto, one way or the other. Orochimaru said as he went into the ground. Naruto looked up to see a tired-looking Ino and the rest of his team. Rest, he heard Kitsuna say as she had just finished off the clone of Orochimaru. Your body will heal itself. Naruto nodded to his team before he and Ino had passed out. Choji sighed as he looked at Anko, who was looking around her. Did you get both scrolls? She asked. Shikamaru and Choji nodded. Good, get to the tower now. Anko smiled at them. If your teammates don't wake up by the 5th day, you are done with the exams. Anko said as she ran off with several men. Shikamaru looked at Choji, who just shrugged. Troublesome blondes. The lazy ninja said as he helped Naruto to his feet while Choji carried Ino. At least we can rest for a few days. Choji said. Although I don't think Naruto would have liked for us to have wasted that much time doing nothing. With that said, the two of them had to make a run for the tower they all knew very well. In other parts of the forest, Orochimaru was on the attack again, only this time it wasn't as hard. The Snake Master was attacking Sasuke and his team, and they were losing badly. The fight had ended when both Hinata and Sakura was knocked out. Sasuke was given the same bit that Orochimaru had given Naruto and had passed out just as Sakura woke up. The young pink-haired girl was given a massage from the Snake Master, and then he was gone, only to be caught minutes later by Anko, who had fought him. Sakura had woken Hinata by placing some smelling salt under her nose, waking her up. Together they then made their way to a hole in the tree trunk to hide out until Sasuke had woken up. It was going to be a long night for Team Tsunade. Chapter Nin, Chunin Exams Part 3, The Challenge. You dummy, get out of here. Naruto yelled at Ino, who gave her boyfriend a glare. Even for an echo, he is too powerful. Naruto said as he tried to reason with her. Ino brought out her say. Not going happening, honey. Ino said. You would need my help so he doesn't try to get to Kitsuna. Naruto sighed. She had him there. This being his mind, Naruto couldn't use any jutsu, and only used pure martial arts. With the two swords in hand and Ino by his side, they both looked at the echo. This is odd. Tell me, girl, how did you get in here? The echo asked. Ino had a confused look on her face. She looked at Naruto and then sweat dropped. You know, I don't know. She answered. The last thing I remember was I fell asleep after I felt this terrible pain in my neck. Naruto looked at Ino, went to her side and pulled the collar of her shirt down. Hey, what the hell, Naru? Ino asked as Naruto looked at her neck. Sweetheart, now is not the time. She saw the look in Naruto's eyes. What's wrong? Naruto let go and looked at the echo. You fucking son of a bitch. Naruto said. When did you bite Ino? The echo had a look of confusion on his face. I never bitted the bitch. It said. Interesting. Tell me, boy, what does the mark look like? Naruto took another look. 3 feathers-like markings with each tip pointing to the next in a circle-like manner could be seen. It was the same as Naruto's. Our link. Ino said. The echo caught that. Link. What link? The two lovers looked at the echo. Don't know, it just started to appear one day. The echo was pissed. Because of Kitsuna, he could send any messages to his master. The bitch had to die. But first he had to get through the two before him. Naruto looked back at Kitsuna. I'm not sure how long she would need. Be on your toes, Naruto said. Please be careful, your father is scary enough as it is. Ino smiled and kissed him one for luck. The same goes for you as well. The echo looked like he was going to be sick. Oh god, someone call me a dentist, my teeth hurt. It said. I mean really, I have a bitch to kill and you're here ready to fuck or something. The two looked at the echo then back at each other. The next thing that the echo knew was that it was sent flying. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Ino. Other than a high fever they should be okay. She did another medical scan. The new mark that had appeared on both of their neck had changed. At first Naruto's was black. Then it had changed color and then shape. Ino mark was the same as Naruto. Both Tsunade and Shizune had run test after test on the two. Shizune had made a joke that the two was sharing a pregnancy. Shizune was then seen rubbing the back of her head. The one thing I don't get is, Tsunade said as she looked at Ino, when did Ino get bitten? No one had an answer for that. She didn't. The two women turned to the door and saw Shikamaru in it. She was with Choji and I the whole time. Tsunade did another scan. Ino fever was going down faster than Naruto. It didn't make any sense. Then it has to be through their shared link. Shizune looked at Tsunade. Naruto and Ino share a unique telepathic link. Shizune blinked at that. Then that has to be the only way. Then Shizune thought of something. Does that mean that they can feel each other's pain? Tsunade looked at the two. She was trying to remember if there was any cases where the two had felt each other's pain. No, Tsunade said after a few minutes. The thing is, this link between the two of them is so rare I never heard of any other cases of it. Shizune looked at her little brother. She felt bad that she hadn't been spending time with him. She felt a hand on her arm and looked to see her husband smiling at her. The kid is strong, you of all people know that if anyone can beat this curse mark, it's Naruto. Shizune smiled back at him. Will they be up in time for the prelims? Tsunade didn't have an answer to that. There was still time though. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX hope of getting out of their holding cell. Gaara was pacing back and forth. Kankuro was working on a new puppet, and Temari was doing katas. Does anyone have any idea of how to get out of here? Kankuro said. Yeah, stand back, a voice said from the other side of the door. The three looked at each other and took a step back. No sooner as they did, the door was blown away back a powerful jutsu. When the smoke cleared, they could see only one person. Hey, it's the pervert, Kankuro said. Jiraiya looked at the puppet master. I'm not a pervert. He then took a pose and said. I'm a super pervert. The other three sweet dropped at that. I don't care what you are because you're going to be dead. Other voice said. Standing behind a man was several sand ninja. Jiraiya didn't say anything. He knew that things were bad in Suna. He however didn't know that with a new case cage, he would have to fight all of Suna. Hey old man, what's the plan? Gaara asked. Jiraiya looked back at the kids. Run. Jiraiya yelled out as he ran down the other side of the hallway. The sand kids took one look at the other ninja and started to run after Jiraiya. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX The Echo was also on his knees. All three of them have been fight for what seemed like days. Naruto turned to Ino and he can see that she was going to either fade out and go back to her own body or die. Naruto then turned back to Kitsuna. She was at most still safe. Naruto, duck. Ino warning came in time as Naruto ducked under the sword that the Echo had with him. Naruto brought up the phoenix blade and slashed the snake across the chest. Damn you! The Echo yelled at Naruto. He was then thrown to the ground as Ino came up from behind him and spin-kicked the shadow into a wall. When the Echo pulled himself out he looked at the two of them. I would have thought that the two of you would want my power. It told them. He looked at Kitsuna, she was still blocking any and all communication from him to his master. Naruto looked at the Echo. You make me sick, Naruto said. People work hard to become strong. Naruto looked at his swords. I was given a gift from Kitsuna as a baby. I hardly if ever use it though. Ino blinked. Since she had known him, Naruto had never lied. He wasn't lying now though, but for some reason she didn't believe him. I believe that hard work pays off in the end. The swords started to glow. This could only mean that chakra could start to be used now. Naruto waited no time, he had to finish this thing before it figures out that Naruto and Ino can now use their powers. Naruto looked back to Kitsuna. She was almost finished. Naruto knew that she had a few more minutes left. Hard work. Don't make me laugh. The Echo was still looking at Naruto. I offer power to those that want it. Naruto stared back at the shadow. By taking away their free will. Naruto asked as he watched the echo more closely. You and your master make me sick. Ino walked up to Naruto, her saber ready at her side. No more playing around, it's time to finish you off. Naruto yelled out. The two ran at the echo from both sides. They had moved faster than anyone had seen them more. Naruto's swords were glowing brightly now. One sword was glowing in flames of different colors while the other sword was glowing black. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Tsunade turned to look at the two as they started to glow. No sooner than she did though she was blinded by a bright light. When they could see again, both Naruto and Ino were glowing in a pure white light. It had surrounded them like a cocoon. However, when Tsunade took a closer look though, she could see that it wasn't light that was glowing brightly but pure white angel-like feathers. That couldn't have been right. Unless. Tsunade smiled and relaxed a little as she sat back down in her seat. It's going to be okay now, she said. Kitsune is doing her job as protector. The glowing had faded by this point. The two teens looked a little different though, but not by much. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Orochimaru, one of the most powerful ninja in the world. Naruto walked up to the echo and ripped one of his swords out of the shadow. You're not Orochimaru, he said. Your biggest mistake was that you underestimated both me and Ino. Naruto said as he ripped his other sword out of the echo's back as he walked behind him. Kitsune has broken the block that kept you from contacting your master. The echo looked at Naruto. Tell him that if he ever sets foot in Konoha again, I will kill him. The shadow just laughed at that. You said early that you don't kill. Naruto smiled. I don't kill humans, Naruto said as he slashed his sword right through the shadow of Orochimaru. Before the body hit the ground it turned into smoke. This showing Ino and Naruto that they have been fighting a shadow clone. The two hugged each other. What happened to you after you left? Naruto asked. Ino told Naruto about what had happened at the gate. It was though your shared link. Kitsune said as she looked at the young couple. I have purified the efforts. You have gained its power but not its curse. Naruto looked at her. I am sorry Naruto, I could not remove it. Miss Kitsune, could you tell us how long we've been in here? Ino asked hoping that there was still time to make it to the next part of the exams. Kitsune's sad look however told her a different story. I am sorry young one. Kitsune said. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Shikamaru and Choji were waiting for them. Both teens didn't look happy. All that hard work and we can't finish this exam, Naruto said. However, a cough from behind the four made them turn to it. Standing in the doorway was Abihataki, the youngest person to have graduated from their class. Hi, I was told to bring you to the area. Naruto and Ino both stood up. They nodded to the young woman as she led them down the hallway. A few minutes have passed, and when they had gotten to the area they could see that out of all the people to have made it was none other than the genin from Konoha. Wait a second, Naruto said as he looked at the Hokage. Yes, well, I think it would have been unfair to you since you had to fight Orochimaru, Hiruzen said. He didn't worry about how the others looked though. By now everyone would have heard about the fight. Naruto grinned. Then I like to make a request, sir, Naruto said as he looked at the Hokage and the other ninja in the room. I like to request a special battle between the Konoha rookies and Team NCIS. Everyone turned to look at Naruto, and almost as one yelled out. What? Hiruzen looked thoughtful at this and smiled. With people coming from all over the world to see the final stage of the exams and it being only Konoha, he didn't have to worry about the losses of ninja. Very well, however I would like to request that you do not kill your opponent. Naruto looked at the old man. It had almost seemed that the two had this all planned out. In one mouth, you and the rest of Team NCIS will battle the Konoha rookies. Everyone was still looking at Naruto as he turned to his team. They then saw Naruto run up to the Hokage and was asking to do something. The Hokage looked thoughtful for a few moments. Fine, but I would like it if you took Asuma with you, Hiruzen said. Naruto nodded. Sure, I have no problem taking him with us. Naruto then made his way to his team. Okay, listen up, I need you to pack your things for a month-long training trip. The other looked at the young man. We're going to a special place to train and it takes us just under a day to get there. The other nodded and left to gather their things. As Naruto watched them leave, Naruto turned to look at Sasuke. You are a fool, Uzumaki, the last Uchiha said. Do you really think that you and your team could bet us all? Naruto glared at Sasuke. He saw the bit mark on Sasuke's neck and couldn't help but feel sorry for the young man. Yes, I do, Naruto said as he started to walk away. I'll have Jiraiya look at that curse mark if I was you, Naruto said. He then stopped and looked over his shoulder. Sasuke, I know you want power, but don't give in to him. With that, Naruto walked out to go pack. Sasuke stood there wondering what Naruto had meant. Sasuke turned and looked at his team. He swore that he wouldn't let another loved one die. He wasn't going to let anyone hurt Hinata, ever again. Chapter 10, Chunin Exams Part 4, Team NCIS vs Konoha. Okay, we're up in the air, Shikamaru said as he looked at Naruto. Now can you tell us where we are going? Naruto looked him. Once again Ino was riding with him on Toothless while the other three was riding 3 other dragons. Whirlpool Country, Naruto said. The other looked at the blonde and blinked. Choji, who didn't have much to say to that, Asuma however had a look of surprise. Kid, that place is a graveyard, he said. Naruto looked at him. I know, he said. It's the prefect place to train. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX as he pushed Kankuro out of the way of a wind attack. I don't understand why are they attacking us. The puppet master said. Gaara used his sands to protect his sister said. They see us as the enemy now. So stop holding back and fight back. He then covered some ninja in sand but didn't finish his attack. Tamari didn't say anything as she used her attack to blow the Suna ninja away. This is all Orochimaru's fault, I just know it. Jiraiya didn't say anything though. He couldn't tell them that their father was dead. We need to move, the Toad Sanin said. He then took out a map. Looking at it didn't help much though. If they stayed undercover that could be back at Konoha within the month. This was going to be hard for them. Suna Sound and Iwa was planning to attack during the finals in the Chunin exams. They need to hurry and hurry fast. Jiraiya looked back and saw the three siblings looking back to their only home. Konoha will give you a safe haven for now. He said, I know that it must be hard to run for your only home. We'll join Konoha, for now at least. Gaara said, we were already classified as missing nin when you had broken us out. The redhead looked back to the only home that he had known. Tamari walked up to her little brother and wrapped her arms around his shoulders. Then the two followed by Jiraiya and Kankuro left. Not far behind then was sand ninjas ready to attack. They never got the chance as they were buried under a ton of sand. No sooner had that happened that the sand had turned red. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX although the screams didn't come from the many prisoners like one would think. No, the screams of pain had come from Orochimaru, who was holding his head. "Damn you!" he screamed out. "Damn you to hell, Uzumaki!" The pain won't go away. His eyes had started to burn and his skin was bleeding, but now visible wound could be seen. The snake master knew the cause though. Somehow, thanks to Kitsuna, the efforts of the cursed mark had backfired and reflected the efforts back at the snake himself. Orochimaru fell to the ground, still holding his eyes. "I will kill you, Uzumaki," he yelled out. This had changed everything now. Thanks to Kitsuna, Orochimaru wasn't able to change bodies like he would have. Thanks to Naruto, he couldn't lead his ninja into attacking Konoha. But the plan was still a go even if he wouldn't be there. He had a month though. If he could heal enough, then he would still go, and kill not only Naruto but also Hiruzen Sarutobi as well. "I will see your blood, you foolish child," he said, only to start screaming in pain once again. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX needed to know about who was coming. He wasn't surprised though. Suna had bowed out this year for some unknown reason. However, the old Hokage knew that it was all a lie. Jiraiya had reported that the real Kasage was dead. No sooner had he gotten that message was when another had arrived. It held a photo of his one-time friend. His skin was removed. Now other message for his student stated that the kids were going to be executed on ground for treason. Hiruzen would of course give them a safe haven. Other reports have come in following Jiraiya's. It seemed that another nation was getting ready to attack Konoha. This wasn't going to be easy, and with this many nations ready to attack, Hiruzen didn't know if Konoha would survive after this though. Hiruzen had no choice. He would have to call an emergency council meeting. There was still hope though he was still very young. Hiruzen looked at a picture on his desk. If what Jiraiya and Tsunade said were true, Naruto could very well be the turning point that they would need. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX have passed and the dragons carrying Naruto and his team landed in the middle of a city that had been destroyed so long ago. Naruto didn't look happy as he had toothless land near a house that had been rebuilt. Go ahead and go inside, Naruto said as he looked at Toothless and the other dragons. Thanks guys, see you in a month. Toothless for some reason rubbed Naruto's cheek with his before they proved away. Ino wanted to say something but she couldn't. Naruto turned back to look at his team and nodded to them. I'm okay, he said. It's just that seeing places like this one. Naruto and his team looked around. Reminds me of why war is so terrible. If one could look back in time you can see how once beautiful Whirlpool was. There was no human remains though. They were buried a long time ago by Kushina and the others that had survived the battle. Some say that was how the Second Great Ninja War had started. Others nations though didn't think so. Team NCIS made their way to the house and Naruto placed his hand on a seal. The last time I was here was when I was 4. Naruto said. Jiraiya and grandmother helped to rebuild this house. Once they had walked in everyone had to blink. Surprised, their blonde leader asked. This place has seals all over to keep dust away and food from rotting. The house only had 1 floor but it had just enough room for everyone. I know it's not much to look at and that there is no power, but it has everything that it needs. He waved his hand as a way of telling them to follow him. I won't lie to you, Naruto said as they walked down the hall. I'm going to push you harder than I ever did before. Naruto opened the door and walked out back to an open-air bath. That was the reason why I wanted to come here, Naruto said. To get away from prying eyes, you know, like the Hyugas. Ino walked up to Naruto. We never question why you brought us here, she said. However, we do question as to why you made that challenge. Naruto looked back at his team and Asuma. I won't lie to you, Naruto said. I wanted to test your skills. Everyone had blinked at that. The reason being is that for some time now we've been given missions that don't make much sense. That was true. Everyone was given the right missions but Team NCIS was given missions that were mislabeled. It's time to show them what Team NCIS can really do. Later that night. Naruto didn't train them that night so that they can get used to their new home for now. That night Naruto cooked them dinner. He did say that he wasn't going to train them that night but he did want to go over some things. Naruto handed each member of his team and Asuma, who gave him a look, a folder. You might as well be a member of this team, Asuma-sensei, Naruto said as he sat down. The folders have edited information on which we will be fighting. Naruto gave each person the chance to look over the files. The 2 biggest problems would have to be the Hyuga clan members, Neji and Hinata. His team and Asuma looked at him. Their Byakugan of theirs can be a real bitch, Naruto said. I have a way to counter it but it will take time. Asuma looked at Naruto. Just remember, you can injure the others but not kill them, he said. Naruto nodded. Don't worry, we won't. Naruto then looked at the picture of Hinata. The Hyuga clan isn't prefect, there's a small feud going on between the main branch and the smaller branch of the clan. We can use that against them. They all nodded. The next problem is Sasuke Uchiha. The others blinked. The Sharingan is a skill-stealing piece of shit, Naruto said. Do not use any of your best moves against him. Ino looked at Naruto for a second. Then she looked back down at her file. There is one more we should look out for. Everyone looked up. His name is Rock Lee. Naruto showed everyone a picture. For reasons unknown he can mold his chakra network and has to rely on taijutsu. Everyone looked at him. We can overpower him if we work together. The others nodded. So what are your plans? Asuma asked. Knowing who you are up against is good. That way you can plan your attacks better. Naruto looked over the information. It was risky but they would have to take out the threats first. I have an idea, Naruto said with a smile. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX whole village of Konoha was at the battle area. Hiruzen had never seen a turnout quite like this one. The place was full of people from the village and from other villages as well. Everyone it seems was also making bets on who would win. A few minutes ago Tsunade was seen placing bets on her grandson and his team. Hiruzen also laughed as not a minute sooner and in a henge Tsunade also placed a smaller bet on her team as well. It was sad though. He was hoping that other nations' hidden villages were going to make it to the final round. Sadly though Konoha had proven to be the strongest, he had feared that this was going to lead to other war. Hiruzen looked around. People were still coming in by the hundreds. Win or lose, this was going to be a great day for Konoha. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX and bowed. He had half his face covered up and looked at his leader. Yes, my lord. The cage nodded. Good, remember the attack will have shortly after the Chunin exams are finished. With that the cage along with 4 other have left them. Baki turned to look at his men with a sigh. He said, I do much like this either, be ready to attack when the time comes. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX running late though. He was more worried about his team. He had forgotten one important thing. Her name was Abi Hitaki, the daughter of Kakashi Hitaki. If her skills were anything like her father's, this could be a hard battle. He knew nothing about her, or her skills. He hated to do it, but the plan was going to have to change depending if they can defeat the young Hitaki. Naruto had limited himself with just edited information, wanting to keep the secrets that the others had. If worst comes to worst, Naruto could always unseal some of his power. However, this wasn't going to be about winning. He told his team to think of this as a spar and nothing more, so natural he told them to have fun. Looking at the clock, Naruto knew that it was time. His team was ready for this, he could feel it. The Konoha rookies were going to lose. Then maybe he can follow though with his plans. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX As Naruto and the rest of Team NCIS walked into the area, they could hear a lot of boos and cheers coming from the seats. Ino looked at Naruto to see how this was going to affect him. Naruto was looking ahead at the Konoha rookies. At first you would think that he was ignoring the crowd. That was true to a point, however Naruto was looking over the opposing team, or teams. Remember the plan. Naruto told his team, once everything is set, and this thing starts, all hell is going to break loose. Everyone nodded. Be careful. They don't know what we have planned for them and chances are they didn't train as a team. Ino was glaring at Sakura, the pink-haired young woman glared back. Shikamaru gave Kiba a bored look. Choji gave a sorry look to a young silver-haired young woman. Today Konoha will make history, as this will be the first time that teams from one village has made it this far. Hiruzen said, "It is a great honor that I welcome you all here today." The crowd started to cheer at that. It is also a great honor that you will see one team hard work as they face off against their fellow Leaf Ninja. There were murmurs going all around. However, before we begin I would like to tell you, Hiruzen said as he took a deep breath. Following the end of the Chunin exams I will once again be stepping down as your Hokage. The Konoha crowd, to the surprise of the old Hokage, started clapping. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Team NCIS and the Konoha rookies. Hiruzen sat back down next to the cage, who had arrived just a few seconds ago. It's good to see you again, old friend, Hiruzen said. The cage just nodded his head. Yes, even though Suna wasn't in the exam this year, I am sure that this will be a fun battle, he said. He didn't say much after that though. The two watched as Naruto meet up with Sasuke Uchiha in the center of the area. The two teams watching to make sure that the other doesn't pull anything. You guys know the rules. There is to be no killing. If you or a team member is unable to fight, they will be removed from battle. The two of them nodded. Naruto looked at Sasuke. There was bad blood between the two of them and the others now. Hey, if you win, I'll tell you the truth about Itachi, Naruto said with a smile. Sasuke looked at the blonde and smirked. Then I'll just have to beat you then, now won't I? The two shook hands and went back to their teams. Naruto took out a pair of gloves as the rest of his team prepared for the battle ahead. He went for it. Naruto said, he'll be focused on me now since I can move fast enough so he can't copy me. Shikamaru nodded. First we deal with Sasuke, and then we deal with Neji, he said. Should we really leave Hinata alone? Naruto looked back to the dark-haired girl. He remembered, but not by much. If he was right with his grandmother's training, she should have ended up better than what she was back in school. We'll deal with Neji first. Ino, keep her busy for us and watch out for the others, Naruto said. Okay, everyone ready? Genma asked. Looking at the two teams though, he couldn't help but have a feeling that it was somehow unfair to Team NCIS. Whatever the case may be, this was going to be a good fight. Begin. The order came and all hell had broken loose. Sasuke ran at Naruto, who had stood there. Once Sasuke was in range though, Naruto did a backward spin kick right into Sasuke's stomach. The kick had knocked the air out of him. Naruto had to move fast though. While Sasuke was bent over, Naruto jumped up and rolled over Sasuke's back, making sure he elbowed him in the back of the head as he did. While Naruto took care of Sasuke, Ino had to fight Sakura. The two former friends glared at each other but didn't really say anything. You had long hair the last time I saw you. Forehead, Ino said. Sakura smiled at her. It was Sensei's idea, the pink-haired girl said. Sakura ran at Ino, who ducked under the haymaker that Sakura had thrown at her. Before anyone could see what had happened though, Ino cried out, Kachu Tenshin Amagurikan. Chakra had surrounded Ino's hands and like a shot started to punch Sakura hard. Up in the stands Tsunade was growling. That little, she yelled out. Kakashi, who was sitting next to her, looked at the older woman. I can't believe he taught her that. Kakashi didn't say anything more and let her vent a little. Sakura was in pain as she doubled over. What the hell? She asked though bated breath. Ino just smiled. She had punched the pink-haired young woman over 15 times in just under a second. Ino decided to end it early and kicked Sakura in the right temple, knocking her out. Ino then moved on to fight Hinata, although she wasn't looking forward to it. It was better to wait for backup. She looked over and her eyes widened. Neji was trying to sneak attack Naruto. Moving as fast as she could, Ino kicked the branch member of the Hyuga clan away from her boyfriend. Heads up, Naruto said as he ducked under a kick from Sasuke. Ino had spun around and spin-kicked the last Uchiha in the face. Lighting kicks. Naruto cried out. A flash of yellow went around Naruto's leg as he started to kick Sasuke as fast as he could. Stomach, chest, and finally head in that order had put Sasuke in a world of hurt. However, the young man didn't go down without a fight. Sasuke had countered after getting back up by calling out, "Fireball no jutsu." Placing his hand to his mouth, he shot a fireball out at the blonde. Naruto didn't move from his spot. He softly called out, "Chakra shield." Chakra surrounded Naruto's arms as he backhanded the fireball right back at Sasuke. Sasuke moved out of the way. The fireball though had hit Kiba, who had gotten tired of waiting and was going to help Sasuke, was hit instead. Choji wasn't having a good time at all. He had to face off against Tenten, a young woman who specializes in weapons. Because of his big size, he was having a hard time to moving around her. Placing his point and middle finger on the back of his hand, he had called his weapon into play. Tenten's eyes had widened when she saw the staff in his hands. "Where did you get that?" she asked, jumping back from Choji's swing. The young man had just smiled. "Sorry, I can't tell you," he said as he spun around and hit the young woman in the left temple, thus knocking her out. His victory only lasted for so long though. Choji was kicked in the back by a young man who was wearing a green spandex jumpsuit and had thick eyebrows. "That, my friend, was very unyouthful of you," he said. "Damn it, it's Lee," Choji said. The young man got up and then grinned. "Bakusai Tenketsu," Choji yelled out as he slammed his hand down on the ground. At first nothing seemed to have happened. Then suddenly the ground beneath Lee exploded, sending the young man up into the air. Choji then jumped up after him and with a hammer punch sent Lee back down to the ground hard. Just to be sure that the young man would be out of it, when Choji landed, he had placed his knee into Lee's stomach. Back to Naruto, who ran at Sasuke, and Kiba jumped into the air and split-kicked the both of them in the face. A soft crack was heard and Kiba went to the ground holding his nose. "Hey, come here boy," Naruto called out to Kiba's dog, Akamaru. The small puppy ran up to Naruto, who was holding a doggy treat. Naruto said something to the little puppy, gave him the doggy treat and then threw the puppy at Sasuke. What came next made all the guys wince. The puppy had bitten Sasuke in the groin. Naruto ducked under Neji kick and then backhanded the young man in the face. Naruto looked around. Ino was fighting Hinata and losing badly from the looks of it. Naruto once again had ducked under a kick from Sasuke and blocked a punch from Neji. Going though hand signs as fast as he can, he placed his hand on the ground. "Summoning no jutsu," Naruto cried. The area had filled with smoke. Once it was cleared, a small red and black dragon was seen. "Finally decided to call on me, huh?" it asked. Naruto cursed. He was hoping for other one. "Finally I get some action." Naruto didn't say much. He picked up the dragon and said, "Go help Ino Mushu." Naruto then threw the small dragon over to Ino, who ducked when she saw the dragon. Mushu however hit Hinata in the face, scaring the poor girl to death. "Wait, Naruto sends a lizard to help me," Ino said as she picked up Mushu. Mushu however didn't like what Ino had said. Dragon, I don't do that tongue thing," he said just as his tongue came out. "Okay, whatever," Ino said. Mushu turned back to Hinata. "Boo," he said, and then he sweat drops as Hinata fainted. "Not the reaction I was looking for," he said as he proved away. Ino sighed. She looked around and saw that Shikamaru was fighting Shino. She turned back to her boyfriend, who seemed to having fun. Shikamaru wished that he had bought some bug spray. He was losing chakra fast and he couldn't really think of a way to beat Shino. Just as he was about to give up though, Ino came flying in and kicked the bug user away. "Hey fly guy, leave my teammate alone," the blonde said. Choji had joined the two shortly afterwards. "Okay, so what's the plan?" he asked. Ino didn't remember Shino much, but she did know that he was bad at taijutsu. "Ping pong?" Ino asked. Her two teammates just seemed to blink at her and then they seemed to get the idea. They both nodded. What happened next was a human version of ping pong, as Choji had turned into his boulder form and with Shikamaru and Ino's help had rolled over Shino. "So far we're doing okay, who's next?" Shikamaru said. Sasuke, Neji, Kiba and Abi. Shikamaru said, and he looked at the silver-haired girl who was in the corner reading a book of all things. Just as he finished saying that though, Kiba came flying past them and ended up hitting the wall. Never mind about Kiba then. The lazy ninja said. Naruto has had enough of this. The battle was pointless now that there were only 3 people to fight. Ino and the rest of the team came up to him. I'm ending this right now, Naruto said as he ran at the other 2 who had finally started to work together. Oh shit, was all that Ino had time to say as Naruto was heard calling out. Hiryu Shoten ha. Suddenly Neji and Sasuke were caught up in a tornado that was created by Naruto as he had thrown up his hands. The 2 was sent fly in the twister. When Naruto had called off the attack, the 2 fell to the ground hard with swirls in their eyes. Team NCIS turned to Abi, who just lifted up her arm and said, I forfeit. If she could see her father, she would have seen him face faulted to the floor. The others just sweat dropped at that. Winner, Team NCIS. Genma had yelled over the stadium. The crowd was on their feet faster than anyone could have thought possible. However, the celebration was cut short as an explosion not only rocked the stadium but all of Konoha as well. Chapter 11, The Battle for Konoha. Orochimaru wanted just one thing in all his life, power over all jutsus. However, only one person ever had this power, and he was rumored to be only a myth. This power was the dujutsu that was known as the Rinnegan. So Orochimaru had to come up with another way. So he had sold his soul to the devil and became what he is today. At one point he had truthfully loved his sensei, but now he hated him more than ever. It was all because of Minato Namikaze. Orochimaru moved as fast as he could and had slashed Hiruzen across the neck. To his shock though, Hiruzen smiled and disappeared into a poof of smoke. Shadow clone, the snake had thought. Then where is the real one? He got his answer when 2 feet had kicked him in the face. Damn it, Naruto said as he landed next to Hiruzen Sarutobi. I was aiming for his face, not his ass. Orochimaru looked at the blonde and hissed. Ah, did I make the little snakey mad? Naruto then gave the snake Sannin the one thing that made everyone mad. He gave him a 1-figure salute. Now Naruto, you should respect your elders. The 3rd Hokage said with a smile. Naruto looked at him. You're right, point me to one and I'll try. Naruto said back to him. Orochimaru ran at the blonde, wanting to kill him slowly. Naruto blocked the punch. Hiruzen then went to kick his former student. Orochimaru bent back, letting the kick sail over his head. However, this gave Naruto the chance that he needed and kicked the snake in the groin. Now Orochimaru had felt many things in his life, but the pain that shot through his body was something that no man should ever feel. Naruto frowned. So he did what any other guy would do when he felt his member getting kicked. He screamed in pain. Hey, snake face, you scream like a little girl, Naruto said. Orochimaru looked at him and hissed at him again. Barrier, Orochimaru started to say. Now, no sooner as he gave the command that a barrier had appeared before the 3 of them. This can't be good, Naruto said as he looked at the 3rd. You okay, grandpa? Naruto asked. Hiruzen smiled. Over the last few years the 2 of them had grown close. Almost to the point of being a family. I'm fine, Naruto, Hiruzen said as he looked at Orochimaru, who started to stand up. Only to get punched once more in the face. A crunch was heard as Naruto had broken his nose. Oops, guess I don't know my own strength. Naruto then grabbed Orochimaru's broken nose and snapped it back into place. Only to broken it some more. Ouch, that had to hurt. Naruto jumped back as Orochimaru tried to punch him. Do you think this is some game I'm playing here? The snake said after fixing his nose. After I kill the old man I will kill you. Orochimaru then went through some hand signs so fast Naruto had trouble following them. When Orochimaru was done, Hiruzen's eyes widened. No, the old Hokage yelled out. However, the deed was finished as 3 coffins had started to rise from the ground. Hiruzen had tried to stop them from rising. Sadly though, he was only able to stop 2 out of the 3. When the coffin had opened, a blonde-haired young man had stepped out. Hiruzen's eyes had widened. Minato. Naruto looked at the old Hokage. He then looked at the man before them. Dad, Naruto asked as he titled his head. Minato turned to look at Orochimaru. Minato sneered at him, but he couldn't really do anything. Hello, Naruto, the former 4th Hokage said. You've grown. Naruto glared at his father. How's mom? Mom, Orochimaru asked. Tsunade, you dumbass, Naruto said. So you knew? The younger blonde said. Minato just nodded. She's good. I guess by raising me she feels that she would have made it up to you, Naruto told his father. Orochimaru glared. He now knew why he hated the 2 so much. Not only were they related to Tsunade by blood, Minato was her son. Naruto, I'm sorry about what has to happen, Minato said. Snake face, use a forbidden jutsu that can bring the dead back to life. Naruto was pissed now. Not only did his father was forced back to life but someone was killed so it could be done. Naruto glared at Orochimaru. He then looked back at Hiruzen. The old man could probably handle Orochimaru by himself but not for long. Naruto wasn't too sure at how long he'll be able to fight off his father though. Naruto watched as Orochimaru placed a seal within Minato's head. Once that was done though, the ash that had covered Naruto's father cleared. Standing before Naruto was his father. Gone was the worm he had just seconds ago. Now before him Naruto was facing the yellow flash of Konoha. The only man in the village history to ever get a flea on sight order during the Third Ninja War. It didn't help that he was also Naruto's greatest hero. Kill the boy, Orochimaru said, and like that Minato ran towards his son and started to throw punches left and right. Naruto could barely hang out as he started to block his father's punches. Naruto knew Minato was good, he didn't become the best by sitting around and doing nothing. Hiruzen watched as Naruto and Minato fought. He glared at his former student. So your quest for power had made you do the unthinkable. Hiruzen said, I should have killed you when I saw the signs. Orochimaru smiled at him. Peace had made you soft. Orochimaru said, there was a time when you would have killed an enemy without thinking. The Snake Master said, have you grown so soft that you can't kill the one person you saw as a son? Hiruzen looked down. When Orochimaru was younger he had just lost his parents. Hiruzen had took him in and raised him with his two other sons. However, as time went on, and people close to him had started to die, Orochimaru started to look for a way to be immortal. That path had landed him down the dark side. The child I saw as a third son had died when you were born. Hiruzen said. Minato and Naruto. Naruto was panting hard as he blocked his father's moves. So far Minato haven't used his deadliest skills yet and Naruto was happy for that. Damn it, Naruto thought. No matter what I do I can do enough damage to beat him. Every time Naruto was damaged his father the older blonde would heal just as fast. Guess it's time to take it up a notch. Wouldn't Shadow Clone no Jutsu? Naruto yelled out as he had thrown a few seeds up into the air. On the way down though there was a popping sound and 3 clones of Naruto was standing next to the real one. Attack of the Elemental Dragon. Naruto and his clones all yelled out at once. No sooner as that was said, each of the Naruto had thrown an attack of each element. Earth, fire, water, wind and lighting each mixed in and from a huge dragon-like attack that had crashed into Minato. Dust had rose up after the attack making it almost impossible to see what had happened. Naruto waited, he had to know if this attack had worked. However a few seconds later though had Naruto in pain and a kunai was pulled out of his side. Naruto was down on the ground the second the knife left his body. Blood was dripping to the ground as he looked up at Minato, who was healing right before his eyes. The Thunder God moved. It wasn't a question. Naruto could feel himself healing at a fast rate. Standing up he looked at his father in the eyes. Naruto could tell that his father didn't want to fight him. Naruto himself didn't want to fight him either. However the seal that was placed inside Minato's head made him to otherwise. That's it. Naruto though. I have to destroy the seal. Which means that I have to, shit. Naruto looked back to see that Hiruzen and Orochimaru was having trouble. No choice, I have to use that move. Naruto had jumped back so that he would have enough room. Here goes nothing. Solar flare. Naruto yelled out, pulling his hand to his face, his figure spread out and his eyes closed. What had followed next was a light so bright that it had not only blinded Minato but Orochimaru as well. Hurry up and finish him. Naruto had yelled out to the Hokage. You only have a few seconds. Naruto then took a stance unlike any other. I have to time this just right. Dragon Slave. Naruto called out as he threw his hands forwards. The attack had left Naruto's hands and had hit Minato. When the attack cleared Naruto wanted to be sick. If Minato had been a real person he would have been dead. However because the Minato before him wasn't the real Minato Naruto didn't really kill him. With the body gone, Naruto saw that his father sprite was standing before him. Good job son, the sprite said. Don't feel bad about what you had to do. With a smile Minato lifted up his hand to said goodbye. I've never been so proud of you my son. Love you. And with that Minato was once again gone. No time for tears. Naruto thought as he called for his swords. The dragon slave took a lot out of me but I can still fight. Naruto jumped right into the fight with Orochimaru and Hiruzen. Tag, you're out. Naruto said to Hiruzen. Take a break. Naruto blocked Orochimaru's attack and countered with the Dragon Fang sword. Last time Snake Breath you hand the upper hand. This time it won't work. Naruto had kicked at Orochimaru who had jumped out of the way. Fool, do you really think you have what it takes to defeat me? Orochimaru said. Naruto grinned. Placing one of his swords down Naruto reached up and took off his glasses. Orochimaru gasped as he saw Naruto's eyes start to change. The Rinnegan. The snake said. But how? Naruto smiled. He picked up his sword. It was a gift from a goddess. Naruto wasted no time as he ran at Orochimaru. The snake master didn't act in time and his left arm was sliced off. Orochimaru's scream filled the skies, making everyone who was fighting to look around. Because of this though, Konoha went on to finish what Suna and Sound had started. Konoha main square. Does Konoha ever have one? Ino and the rest of the team were moving the kids as fast as they could. They had also told them not to look around the village. Just as they were leaving the academy though, a group of Sound ninjas started to attack them. Ino and the rest made quick work of them though. Their one concern was that the future of Konoha would be safe. We need to more now. Shikamaru yelled out. The group was moving the kids as fast as they can. Ruruka team's NCIS former sensei was helping as best he could as well. Just then the group made a wrong turn. They were face to face with a squad of Sound and Sand ninja. The team and Ruruka could do anything though if they did it would have put the children in danger. Just as the team was making plans, the enemy ninja didn't notice that Sand had slowly started to cover their feet until they hard. Sand coffin. And just like that the group from Suna and Sound was no more. Glade, you're on our side, Gaara. Choji said as he shook Gaara's hand. Tamari looked at Shikamaru and smiled. Glade, you're okay, she said. Shikamaru nodded, and just like that Team NCIS and the Sand siblings started to lead the children and civilians to a safe place. Orochimaru, Naruto and Hiruzen. Orochimaru was not having a good year. Looking to where his left arm had once been, he turned to look back at Naruto just as used a fireball jutsu to turn his arm into ash. Hey grandfather, Naruto said as he looked at Hiruzen. Let's give the man a hand. Orochimaru barely had time to block any moves that the younger man was giving him. The swords met and the sound of battle was once again heard. Seals on Naruto's arm had started to glow and with a quick block Naruto said. Phoenix fire. The phoenix blade had started to glow and with a spin strike had cut the Orochimaru's sword and had cut into Orochimaru's chest. As soon as the sword left Orochimaru's chest, the wound burst into flames causing more harm than one would think. However, the attack came at a high price for Naruto. Thanks to the fight with his father, and then later with a rematch with the snake Sannin, Naruto was at the point of falling asleep. Naruto was breathing hard, so was Orochimaru as he looked at the young blonde. So much power, he said. Where did you get this power? Naruto fell to his knees. The blonde looked at Orochimaru. I have power before I have people that I need to protect. Naruto said. It's the reason why you could have never been Hokage. Naruto and Orochimaru started to stand up. The two looked at each other some more. Naruto wasn't sure how much longer he can fight the snake Sannin. He was running on empty. Somehow Orochimaru must have known this as his sword or what was left of it hard started to glow. Just give up, Naruto said. Orochimaru shook his head and lifted up two figures from his hand. The broken blade lifted off the ground and was heading towards Naruto. Orochimaru started grin. However, that fell when Hiruzen had pushed Naruto out of the way and had taken the hit that was meant for the young man. No, Naruto yelled out. He got up and ran to Hiruzen just before he had hit the ground. Hiruzen looked at Naruto. Thank you, Naruto. He started to say. The last few years of my life had been fun. Naruto had tears in his eyes. Don't be sad, you don't look right with a sad smile. Naruto tried to smile but he just couldn't do it. Orochimaru watched. He was losing blood but he had to see Hiruzen death. The old fool should have just let you die. Orochimaru said. Naruto looked up at him. Shut up, Naruto said as an aura of red started to surround the young blonde. Hiruzen Sarutobi wasn't a fool. Naruto gently laid Hiruzen down. He was a leader that everyone had loved, even you at one point had loved him. As he looked up, Orochimaru had seen that Naruto's eyes had turned red. However, what had Orochimaru backing away was the fact that Naruto had started to change. Red fox-like ears had appeared on top of his head, along with a fox tail. His nail had turned into claws and his teeth had sharpened. You'll pay for what you did, Naruto growled out. Elsewhere, Ino had fallen to the ground holding her sides as the former curse mark had started to change her. An aura much like Naruto's, only white, had surrounded her body, giving her fox ears and tail. Her nails also had changed into claws and her eyes, while the same color had changed. Her ears and tail was the purest white anyone had ever seen. This change had also gave Ino a power bust so high that it was felt halfway across Konoha. What's happening? Ino asked as she stood up. The others looked at her and then at another ground of sound ninjas as they made their way to them. Ino turned back to her team. Go, I'll handle them. The others nodded. They didn't want to argue with her. Back with Naruto and Orochimaru. What the hell happened to you? Orochimaru asked as he backed away. Naruto looked at himself and smiled. Kitsuna had just informed him that he is now able to control the seal mark that Orochimaru had placed on Naruto. Remember that hiki you gave me? Naruto asked. I'm in full control of it now. Orochimaru's eyes had widened. This fight was over. There was no way he can face Naruto like he was. He was losing blood, and if he didn't end this now he was a goner. Naruto however must have read his mind, and in a blink of an eye was standing in front of the snake Sannin. Before Orochimaru could do anything though, Naruto had punched Orochimaru so had his fist went through his stomach. The snake trader couched up some blood. You're not leaving, Naruto said. He lifted Orochimaru up. He then clawed Orochimaru across the face. Orochimaru's vision was cut in half as he lost an eye. Naruto then threw the former Sannin to the ground. Weakened greatly, Orochimaru looked at Naruto. Damn you to hell, boy, Orochimaru said as he had spat blood into Naruto's face. Naruto didn't even grin as he kicked Orochimaru in the face, causing the slash marks to bleed more. Traitors to Konoha are to be put to death, Naruto said as he held up his hand palm up. For your crimes and for the death of Hiruzen Sarutobi, I Naruto Uzumaki hereby order you to die. A ball of pure blue chakra appeared in Naruto's hand. By now Orochimaru wasn't surprised. The summoning of Minato, and while it failed the others had taken a lot out of Orochimaru. When Naruto attacked he was already at half strength. However, this boy had more power than even Orochimaru had at his age. This kid was dangerous. Just as Naruto was about to finish off Orochimaru, 4 ninjas had gotten in his way, and one of them had kicked Naruto away from their master. Time to go, one of them said as he picked Orochimaru up. We'll finish this other day, another one said. You little shit, I should kill you, the red hair one said. She was that had kicked Naruto away. She turned to leave. Naruto got up, and when the Anbu failed to catch, then he started to power up an attack. Phoenix Fire Bomb Jutsu. Naruto shot out 5 fireballs, then them came together to form a phoenix. The attack hit not only Orochimaru but one of the Sound 4. The explosion that followed had knocked Naruto off his feet. The Sound 4 looked up to see that the attack had done its job. One of their teammates was dead and Orochimaru had lost both legs and was burned badly. Once again they had picked him up and ran for it. Naruto form flashed once and he was back to normal. He calmly walked back to the body of Hiruzen. Hey kid, Hiruzen said softly. You did really well. Naruto sat next to him and took his hand. But the cost was so great. Hiruzen shook his head. No, it wasn't, Naruto, Hiruzen said. Because of you many lives were saved today. It was getting harder to talk. The path of a ninja is a hard one, you most of all know this. Naruto took his hand. Never give up in what you believe, most of all never give up hope. Naruto nodded. Thanks you for making my last few years worth living. With his last words Hiruzen Sarutobi passed away. Tears started to fall down Naruto's cheek. The day was won but at a high price. Naruto reached over and gently closed the man who, in just a few short years was like a grandfather to him, and closed his eyes. Naruto didn't leave his side. Chapter 12, The Aftermath. Almost 14 years ago the village of Konoha was attacked by a man in a mask and the 9 tails kitsune known as Kyubi. The damage done that day was very little thanks to Kitsuna, a young priestess and sister to Kyubi. However, while the damage was kept low that day, the battle of the present was not. Buildings had to be rebuilt and the deceased had to be put to rest. As this was going on, several people was in the Hokage's office. The subject of the matter was Orochimaru. Lady Hokage, it was true. Young Naruto had done major damage to the bastard. A young Anbu said, if we act now we can finally finish him off. He had a point that was very true. Tsunade had yet to become full Hokage now, seeing as there were things that needed to be done. She knew that the young ninja was right in this manner. However, there were a few things that had to come first. Not to mention the fact that their forces was weakened as well. I need time to think about this, Tsunade said. Having a squad leave now would weaken us even more. However, Orochimaru must be hunted down. Give me a day or two and I will have a decision made. She was not ready for this job yet and she knew it. However, because Hiruzen Sarutobi had died she had no choice in the matter. Have any of you been able to find Naruto? Tsunade had asked after a few seconds. Something was wrong with her grandson and she had a pretty good idea on what it was. No ma'am, Kakashi said as he popped his head through the window. We have several people looking though. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX as he heard the voice that belongs to the person that they have been looking for. That doesn't sound good. Sasuke looked at Hinata. It's Naruto, was all she said before they took off to get the blonde out of trouble. However, they didn't expect that Naruto would be in a bar though. They had to stop though or get hit as a man went flying out the door. When someone tells you not to touch them, you don't. Naruto yelled at the guy. He turned around and glared at the bartender. Give me another or I'll kick your ass as well. The man could only sigh, by now he was used to this. He was about to pour the kid another cup of sake when he saw 3 others enter the bar. Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke said as Sakura and Hinata stood by his side. We have been asked to bring you to the Hokage. Naruto turned around and looked at Sasuke and the 2 girls. He then turned around and again told the bartender to pour him some more. The Hokage is dead, dumbass. Naruto said, not even looking at the 3. I should know he died in my arms. Sakura was about to say something when Sasuke had stopped her. He gave her a look that pretty much told her to shut it. You had forgotten that your grandmother is Hokage now. Sasuke told him. Naruto head turned a little to the side. Don't care. However, Naruto got up. He walked up the trio and stopped. So just leave me alone. Naruto said as he walked out. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX woman just sighed. He was fined in a bar, threw a guy out after he was about to lead Naruto out. Tsunade's eyes had started to twitch. This was bad. Give the order to use caution when dealing with Naruto. Shizune had sweat dropped at that. I should have never taught him drunken fist. The younger woman could only nod at that. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX should be able to find him. His two teammates could only shrug at that. Abi looked up from her book. Have we tried the local bars? She asked. Unlike her father, Abi wasn't a fighter, she was more like her mother as she was learning to be more of a medic. We were told that he could be there. The two boys of her team looked at her, still wondering what she looks like under that mask. It couldn't hurt our odds, Shino said. His teammates nodded. A few minutes ago a message was sent to use caution if they find Naruto. Kiba was hoping that the boy was willing to fight again. He wanted a rematch, damn it. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX the glass and looked at Naruto. Neji was standing behind him with his arms crossed. As for Tenten, she had her staff out. You know, you could come quietly or we could just knock you out, she said. Naruto had a drunken look in his eyes for just a second before it cleared up. Still wasn't enough. Naruto said to himself, "You guys still here?" Naruto turned back to the bartender. He had found a place that had no limit as long as you were willing to pay before each drink. With the way the kid been drinking though, the bartender would either be a rich man or he would have to close shop to restock. This is most unyouthful, Naruto. Please just come with us. Naruto paid for another bottle, ignoring Lee as he was talking. Naruto turned back to Lee. Either shut the hell up or I'll be shaving those freakish eyebrows, Naruto said. Alright, that's enough, Neji said. With his Byakugan activated, he went up to Naruto to try and knock him out. However, Naruto ducked under Neji's hand and with a quick punch to the ribs, Neji was down holding his sides. Strike one, Naruto said. Lee come in with a flying kick which Naruto blocked with his forearm. Is that the best you got? Naruto asked. He grabbed the front of Lee's jumpsuit and tossed him into Neji as he was trying to get up. Naruto bent backwards as Tenten had swung her staff at him. Then she got a surprise of her life and the staff broke in half and Naruto had Dragon's Fang to her neck. Leave me alone, Naruto said as he kicked Tenten, Lee and Neji out of the bar. Naruto looked at the bartender. Place some Ryo down. Keep it coming, he said. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX told you to use caution. Sitting down, she looked at the team. She had healed them of the wounds after they gave her their report. She knew what the problem was though. Naruto is blaming himself for sensei's death. The team had looked at her. Naruto is acting a little like I did when I lost my family. Tsunade looked a little saddened at that. You're done here. Go home and get some rest. As the team left, Tsunade turned the chair around and looked out the window. His healing is keeping him from getting drunk, she said out loud. Not even Kushina could have been healing as fast as he was. She heard a chuckle from behind her. The kid is more trouble than you would think. Tsunade turned around and saw Jiraiya leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. Kind of reminds me of his father. Tsunade smiled. Has sensei's death really hit him that hard? Tsunade had a sad look on her face. Yes, she said. From all of the reports I've been hearing, is that sensei had jumped in front of Naruto taking the hit that was meant for Naruto. Jiraiya frowned at that. So it's survivor's guilt. Tsunade nodded. Naruto is blaming himself for the death of Hiruzen Sarutobi. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX looked at a few names that he knew. He was also glad that none of his friends' names was not on the stone. "It's not healthy to stand there all day, kid," a voice said from behind. "Never thought I would see you again, Kakashi-sensei," Naruto said, not bothering to turn around. "Of course, the last time I saw you the village we stayed in was attacked." Kakashi was surprised to hear that since Naruto was still very young. "Yes, well, Rin didn't make it that day," Kakashi said as he sat next to Naruto. "Luckily Abi was safe." Kakashi had a sad look in his eyes. "It's not your fault." Naruto didn't say anything. A few hours ago he had given up on trying to get drunk, and decided to come here. "Everyone has been looking for you." Naruto gave a soft laugh. The only team he had yet to see was his own. "I know, and I kick each one of their asses too." Kakashi sighed. Sometimes he wishes Naruto was still his student. That's not something to be proud of. Naruto still didn't look at him. "How do you deal with it?" Naruto asked. Kakashi knew what Naruto was talking about. Years ago he had lost a teammate because he was an idiot and decided to do the mission instead of saving his teammate. It was a price he wasn't willing to pay for again. Learn from this and live your life one day at a time. Get stronger so that you can protect your team and loved ones," Kakashi said. He placed a hand on his shoulder. "The pain does go away, but with time." Kakashi stood up and with a sad look in his eyes looked at the name of his late wife and his friend's name on the stone. With no more words being said, Kakashi left the young blonde to his thoughts. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX day has lost its light and was growing dark with each passing minute. She slowly walked up to Naruto, knelt down behind him and wrapped her arms around his shoulders. The two didn't really need to say anything. There was no need to as Ino laid her head on his back. The other members of the team looked on and decided that they should leave the two be. The day was over as the sun had finally set, as it did though dark clouds started to appear. The long day was finally over. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Orochimaru is mortally wounded thanks to Naruto. Everyone that was in the room looked at said blonde. Thanks to him his forces are weakened. Tsunade stood up and looked not only at Team NCIS but at the other rookies as well. I will be promoting you all to Chunin, except for you Naruto. Naruto looked at his grandmother. Because you fought, and wounded Orochimaru as well as your leadership skills I will be promoting you to the rank of Junin. There was a pause in the room as everyone looked at Naruto. The blonde was quiet for a while. He then looked at his grandmother. Fine, I accept the honor. Ino walked up to him and hugged him. Tsunade smiled. Then I have a mission all ready for you and your new team. Naruto looked at her. As of now everyone in this room is now a member of Team NCIS. No one said anything. Sasuke was just glad that he wasn't a rookie anymore. Sakura and mixed feeling about this. Hinata looked like she wanted to faint. Abi was reading, the rest didn't show anything. Your team will become a new special unit. Your first mission will be. Tsunade said as she handed a folder to Naruto. To find Orochimaru and put an end to his life. With a smile on his face Naruto looked at the new Hokage. He then saluted her and said. Mission accepted. Chapter 13, A Sound Invasion. Part 1, Training Again. Ino was wondering what Naruto had up his sleeve when he had stayed behind to talk with his grandmother. So far Choji, Shikamaru and she herself have been able to stop any fighting from happening while the older Junin stayed behind and watched. It wasn't like Naruto to keep secrets from her, and she had often wondered what he was planning. He had told her once that he had plans for a better ninja force, one that could put Anbu out of business if it works. After seeing what the Anbu forces were doing during the invasion she hoped that this new squad was better. Ino saw Naruto coming into the field an hour after they had left the Hokage tower. Naruto had stopped not that far from her and handed her a scroll. Take Sakura, Hinata, and Abi with you as well as Shikamaru and Shino. He ordered. What for? Ino asked her sensei and boyfriend. Sometimes she didn't like to be given orders but she would still do them. Naruto gave her a gentle smile and said. This is for medical training, the scroll I just gave you are orders for Shizune to start your training. Sasuke walked up to the two of them and asked. Do you really think that we have time to train? Orochimaru could be on the move. Naruto shook his head. I have something planned on the snake bastard, so finding him will not be hard. Naruto looked at Ino who nodded. The five of you will be our medical unit. Naruto answered Ino unasked question. He then looked at Sasuke and said. Look, I know you and I don't get along very well, but I wanted you on my team. Sasuke gave the young sensei a look. You're good thanks to grandma. However you can be better. Sasuke sighed, he wanted answers about his brother. Sensing this Naruto placed a hand on Sasuke's shoulder. Come over to the apartment after training, grandmother and I will tell you everything that we know. Naruto said. Sasuke nodded and went back to the others. As Ino and the others left for their training with Shizune, Naruto walked up to the rest of his team. I know that we all don't get along, that's not a good thing since we are all on the same side. Naruto said. I made the request that you be placed on this team. Naruto looked at the shocked faces of everyone there except for Choji. The reason for this is that I want to replace Anbu with a better team. Kakashi gave him a glare. Being a former member himself, he still wanted to back up his former team. Anbu has gotten sloppy over the years, as some of you may recall. I was able to outthink, outrun and outsmart some of their best men. Naruto said this as he looked at Kakashi. Then there is the fact of what happened during the exams. Naruto said. A person I expected to be a spy was able to get into Anbu and spy for Orochimaru. Not only that, but because of that spy Anbu was unable to act in protecting. Naruto stopped, he had to take a deep breath. They were unable to protect Hiruzen Sarutobi like they are supposed to. Naruto saw the looks in the others' eyes. I won't lie to you. Training will be hard, harder than you would think. By the time I'm done with you, you'll be able to handle anything. Sasuke looked at him. Yes, Sasuke, even your brother. Naruto nodded to the other Junin and they walked up next to him. Standing beside the young blonde, Naruto said. I have asked these guys and Kurenai to also join the team. Naruto said. They are by far the best in their field of battle. Naruto looked at the other Junin and wondered why the hell Guy was wearing so much green. Guy sensei, could you please pass out the weights? Guy saluted to Naruto as he started to pass out scrolls. Naruto noticed that he had skipped Tenten, Neji and Lee. You missed a few. Naruto said. Guy looked at him, he then nodded to his former students who in turn dropped several pounds of weights. Never mind. Naruto said. Really, he should have known that they would have already been wearing them. The weights, as you know, will help you get stronger. They are chakra based, so all you have to do is to put a little chakra into them. You are to wear them at all times. Except when you shower. Naruto then turned to Kakashi. Kakashi here will be training you in Kenjutsu. Everyone looked at the sliver-haired man and blinked at him. Kakashi over the years has mastered several weapons, including but not limited to staves, sei, and katana, and several others. As ninja you shouldn't limit yourself to just one weapon. He then looked at Tenten. Nor should you be flinging them around like a toy. Kiba with Akamaru on his head looked at Naruto and asked. Will you be training us anything? He asked. Naruto looked at him and shook his head. No, I will only be training Lee for now. Everyone looked at the Guy clone and wondered what was up with him. Kurenai will be training you in High Genjutsu. Guy sensei, as you know, is a taijutsu specialist, and he will be training you in several forms. Naruto turned to look at everyone. You know about Kakashi, I myself have learned things over the years. Asuma sensei is here to train you in ninjutsu, even if he is only limited to his own wind abilities. He and Kakashi can gild you. Lee looked at Naruto and had to wonder what he was going to train him in. So the rest of you will stay here. He turned to the other senseis. They're all yours. Lee, come with me. Naruto said as he started to walk away. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX They have arrived at a training ground with a waterfall nearby. Lady Hokage has told me that you are unable to use chakra. Naruto said. Yes, that is true, Lee said. Guy-sensei has been training me to use taijutsu, however it is not easy. Naruto nodded at this. It would take years to master just one style. Naruto looked at Lee and told him to sit down. Can you open the first gate for me? Naruto asked. Lee looked shocked at that. Don't worry, I'm your sensei now Lee, but I need to see something. Lee nodded and had opened the first gate. Naruto looked at Lee. He had gotten a worried look on his face and said, "Shut it off." Lee did as he was told and closed the gate. What is wrong Naruto-sensei? Lee asked. Naruto had a troubled look on his face. He looked at Lee and said, "Don't use the gates ever again." Naruto said. However, before could say anything, Naruto said, "It's slowly killing you." Naruto saw the shock look on the young man's face. The gates will drain your life away because it has to force open the chakra lines. Naruto looked up after a few seconds. I have no choice, Naruto said. I will be training you how to use a different energy instead. Lee gave him a question look. Naruto smiled. The energy that I will be training you in is called Kai. He said, still smiling. This was going to be good. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Ino sighed. Because you need to have a large amount of chakra to become a medic nin. Hinata answered for Ino. Ino nodded. She then looked at Shikamaru and Shino. I can understand Shino, but why would Shikamaru want to become a medic ninja? Ino just sighed. It was a good question. She looked to her friend and teammate. Why are you here? She asked. Shikamaru just shrugged his shoulders. The five of them arrived at the hospital just in time to see Shizune getting ready to leave. Shizune, Ino called out. Shizune looked up to see Ino and four others walk up to her. Ino handed the young woman a scroll. It's from Lady Tsunade. Shizune had a bad feeling about this. As she opened the scroll, she had that feeling. After reading what was on the scroll she hated when she was right. Okay, come with me, Shizune said in a tired voice. There's a room we can use and I can take a nap after I show you what needs to be done. Everyone just nodded. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX she sat their dinner down. When she had everything sat down, there was a knock at the door. Naruto got up to it and wasn't surprised to have found Jiraiya, Shizune and Ino. He led them into the dining room, and as they sat down, Sasuke glared at Ino. "Don't ask," Naruto said. "You want to hear about Itachi, right?" Sasuke nodded. Naruto got up to get the drinks. Ino followed after him. Once the kitchen door was closed, Ino pinned Naruto up against the wall and started to kiss him. In the other room, Tsunade looked at Jiraiya, who nodded. "What I am about to tell you is the truth, Sasuke. It is up to you to believe me," Tsunade said. This all started before the massacre of the Uchiha clan. Back in the kitchen, Ino had let Naruto go. The young blonde had a goofy look on his face. "We haven't done that in a long time," Ino said with a smile. Naruto nodded. Ino hugged him close. "You okay now?" she asked. Naruto didn't know how to answer that one. "In a way," Naruto said. "I've been having nightmares about it." Ino looked up at him with sad eyes. "I still blame myself, Ino-chan. If only I was a few seconds faster." Ino placed her finger on his lips. "I know, sweetheart." There were no more words that needed to be said. Sasuke had listened to what Tsunade had been telling him. He had even looked over the plans that his father had made and couldn't believe what he was reading. Itachi was a hero to the village, and how did they repay him? Why? Jiraiya looked at the young Uchiha. "There is a group of people who are after the Jinchuriki." Sasuke gave the old man a look. "It means that someone who has a tailed beast or a biju in them. Anyways, we needed a spy in their ranks, and since their members are only S-ranked missing ninjas." Sasuke had put the idea together. Itachi was prefect for the job. Tsunade nodded. She wasn't happy with the way things had turned out. The fact that Danzo had a part in killing the Uchihas that had no part in the planning of the attacking of the village had her on edge. Sasuke for his part was in deep thought. If this were true, then why did you let me live, Itachi? Sasuke thought. Tsunade was watching him as he was deep in thought. Just as she was about to say something, though, a loud noise came from the kitchen. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya, who had a goofy look on his face but that turned into a frown when they heard Ino yelling at Naruto. "And if you ever do anything like what you did a few days ago, I'll take you down to the Inuzukas and have your balls removed. Do you understand me?" Tsunade had a smile on her face. She knew that she liked Ino for some reason. The two guys in the room felt bad for Naruto though. Just as everything had calmed down, thought there was a loud banging noise coming from the door. "Who the hell would that be?" Tsunade said as she got up and answered the door. Behind the door was none other than Anko, and she looked pissed. "I want to be a part of that team that is going to kill Orochimaru," she said. Chapter 14, A Sound Invasion. Part 2, The Deadly Melody of Your Heart. "Hun, what are you doing up?" Ino asked as she came up from behind him. Once again she had stayed the night, only this time she had told her parents that she was staying over at Naruto's. Her father was not happy to have been hearing that, but since Ino was now a legal adult, even at her age, he couldn't really do anything. "Couldn't get any sleep," Naruto said. Ino sat next to him and laid her head on his shoulder. "It was what Anko said that got to me." Ino looked up at her boyfriend. How could someone do that to their own child? He didn't even care about what happened to her after he gave her the curse mark. Ino didn't have an answer to that. Having grown up into a loving family, she couldn't really imagine what it was like for Anko. Naruto turned to Ino. "I decided that Anko is going to be a part of the team." "Well, at least for now." Ino blinked at him. "She has skills that could work out really well with the team." Ino nodded. Even if Anko was scary, she was still a good ninja. No one could deny that fact. She was still hated for something that she couldn't help at the time. In a way, Naruto felt sorry for her. "I talked to grandmother about it and she agreed to this," Naruto said. "Kurenai is her best friend and I believe that she can keep Anko in line." Ino nodded. "Will we be ready by the time we can start the mission?" she had to ask. Naruto closed his eyes. So far no one knew about Naruto Little Tracer. It was something that Naruto had planted on the snake bastard in his fight. Naruto opened his eyes and looked into Ino's beautiful ones. "I believe so," As far as I can tell, Orochimaru is in a coma and is still in sound. Ino nodded. She took Naruto's hand in hers. Come back to bed, she said. Naruto blushed a little. While they still haven't done anything past kissing, he was still nervous. I need my teddy bear. That brought a smile to his face. Naruto learned that Ino liked to cuddle him in her sleep. In a little while, sweetheart, Naruto said as he kissed her forehead. Ino nodded, got up and went back to bed. She understood that Naruto was still planning out the attack and getting to know the team a little better. I need to start training Hinata, Naruto thought as he looked out her file. That was going to be hard. He had known about Hinata's little crush on him. While it wasn't as bad as Sakura's crush on Sasuke, which led to the Sasuke fan club, it could cause trouble in the future. That wasn't the problem. Getting up from his seat, Naruto went to the light to shut it off. No, the problem was that the Hyuga fighting style didn't really fit with the gentle nature of Hinata. In the eyes of her family, she was seen as weak. In the eyes of Naruto, she was a loyal friend. So he would teach her a style that will work better for her. As soon as Naruto got in the bed, Ino had cuddled him. Naruto smiled as he petted Ino's hair to help her sleep some more. Deep in Naruto's heart though, he wished that Ino wasn't going on this mission. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX said. Kiba being the smart ass that he was said. That what she said. That caused some of the others to laugh a little. Naruto just glared at him. Anyways, the rest of you get to your lessons. A little while later Naruto had lead Lee and Hinata into another clearing. Early Naruto had set up a fire pit and a few bags of chestnut. Lee, do you remember a move called Kachu Tenshin Amiguriken? He had asked. Lee looked thoughtful at this. He had remembered that during the fight he had heard the name. However, he had not seen it. It's okay. Anyways, this is the basics. To learn this move to have to grab the chestnuts that I place in the fire. Like this. So Naruto had show Lee how the move was done. The key point in this is that you get the chestnut before you burn your hands. Naruto placed the chestnut into the fire and waited a little bit, then without warning his hands had moved so fast both Hinata and Lee couldn't see his hands. That doesn't look so hard. Lee said. Naruto smiled at this. You would think that. Lee, I will not lie to you. Guy-sensei is good. Very good. However, I had met people that are way better fighters than he is. Naruto said. He hated that he had to do this. One of the people I have met taught me that true strength comes from the heart, the mind and the will to protect others. Lee nodded. He looked at the fire as the chestnuts were placed in the fire. Then much like Naruto moved his hands as fast as he could. Sadly though Lee didn't move his hand fast enough and his hands were burned. Keep it at Lee, Naruto said. He then turned to Hinata. Over here, Naruto said as he led Hinata away from Lee. I've been reading your file. Hinata blushed and looked down, poking her figures together. I'm going to be teaching you a new fighting style. Hinata looked up. I did some digging around and I found out that this was the origin of the Hyuga fighting style. The next few hours were hard for the young woman. Naruto had shown her a few basic moves from the fighting style that he had called Tai Chi. The moves themselves, as Naruto had shown her moves like water, gentle like a stream but deadly like rapids. When Naruto moved to correct Hinata in her kata, the young woman would blush and then faint, thus causing Naruto to have a headache. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX when Naruto suddenly stopped. Sadly though, this gave Ino all the time she needed and had kicked Naruto in the head. "Sensei," Ino asked out of concern for her boyfriend and teacher. "Everyone stop," Naruto yelled out. "Something is up, I need to see the Hokage, continue training until I get back." With that said, Naruto left the training field. Naruto ran most of the way to go see his grandmother and leader of the village. Once there he ran through the doors. "He's on the move," Naruto yelled out as he closed the door. Tsunade looked up. Knowing who he was talking about, she stood up. "Naruto, get you team together. As of now your mission starts." Naruto nodded and then saluted at her. "And please for the love of God be careful." Naruto smiled. "Hey, it's me we're talking about," Naruto said before he disappeared. Tsunade sighed. "That dear, is why I am so worried." XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX goodbye to their families. He wasn't sure how many of them were going to be able to make it back. Ino and Naruto had spent the night together once more at Naruto's house after Ino had spent some time with her family. The team was to meet at the northern gate at 4:30 in the morning. They had to move fast. Orochimaru had stopped, but Naruto didn't know for how long. He was looking at a map while Ino had caught a nap on his shoulder while waiting for everyone to get there. Naruto was worried about this. Sure, he could have someone else do this, but with the village still in repair and more Junin and Anbu were sent out on higher missions, there was no other choice. Naruto and his team had proven themselves time and time again. Now though, they were being sent out as a much higher team to kill one of the most deadly ninja alive. They had sent out once everyone had gotten there. They had journeyed to what had been called Valley of the End. It was a famous battleground that had status of the first Hokage and Madara Uchiha. This was the border to Rice Country. By noon that same day they had made great time. Naruto stopped a few times to make sure that they had been going the right way. They have been for some time now. By the end of the third day they had made it to the location that Naruto had made out. It seemed that no one had been able to find Orochimaru base because it was underground. Once they had found it, they had set up several bomb tags and had gotten ready. Nodding to Kiba, who had a grin on his face, looked at Akamaru and nodded to the puppy. Kiba had mowed several clones of the puppy and they moved their way inside the base. Once inside, Naruto nodded once more. Bakuretsu Koinu. The puppy clones had all exploded all at once. The screams that came from the underground base were the signal to attack. Naruto and his team ran into the base, kicked and punching though that was running at them. Bushin Bakua. Naruto had called out, making several shadow clones and sending them down hallways to cut off any reinforcements. Naruto then made a sign and then the clones exploded much like the puppies had. Screams had filled the hallways of the once hidden base. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX crying in front of Tsunade as they listened to what she had found out from Jiraiya. It seems that your father was killed, she said. The odd part, it seems that he was killed nearly a year ago. Temari blinked. That's not possible, is it? The blonde asked. She had to sit down. It was hard on her. A few days ago she watched as her boyfriend left on a dangerous mission with his team, now this. Okay, this is bullshit. She yelled out. How in fuck sake did this happen? Tsunade handed the blonde the report that she had gotten. A spy that was working for Orochimaru, that's how. Tsunade said. Suna is also still under his control. Gaara was growling now. Tsunade smiled. So Gaara, I will be sending some help with you. Tsunade said with a smile. The door opened and in walked Jiraiya, Shizune, Ruruka and several others. I know that it's not much. However, with Naruto and his team away we have to be ready in case there would be another attack. Gaara nodded. It's more than enough. Gaara said. Thank you for helping. With that the Sand siblings left the office. The others followed them. Jiraiya stayed back a little. Tsunade looked at him. I got a message for Naruto if he get back before we do. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX hall. Kabuto looked at the remaining members of what used to be the Sound Five. They were now down to 4, seeing as how they had lost a member. How the hell did they find us? A young redhead asked. A overweight teen unlike Choji was standing next to her. You should really watch your mouth, he said. The young lady next to him hissed at him. And you need to go on a fucking diet. Kabuto looked at the two. Tayuya, Jorubo, both of you shut up, he said. He looked at the person that was standing next to him. I need you to fight off the Konoha leader, he said. Think you can do that, Kimimaro? The young man nodded at him. He will pay for what he had done to Lord Orochimaru, he said. He then turned to the other members of the elite sound team. The rest of you idiots can fight off his team, he said. He then walked out of the room, followed by the rest of the Sound Four. Kabuto turned to Orochimaru. The man was covered head to toe in bandages and had an angry look in his eyes. He better kill that little bitch before he dies, Orochimaru said. Kabuto nodded his head, understanding his master. If it wasn't for Naruto, Uzumaki Konoha would have fallen by now. We should probably leave now, master, he said. Orochimaru turned to him and smiled. No, we'll stay for now, he replied back. There is one more thing that needs to be done. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX floor. The others watched as the ball exploded, sending smoke and shrapnel all over the place. It has been several minutes since the attack happened and the team was making quick work of the sound ninja. Hey boss. Naruto turned around to look at Tenten. Could I buy some of those off of you? She asked. Naruto sighed. If Naruto was even injured to where he wasn't able to be a ninja anymore, he knew that he could make money by selling his weapons. I'll think about it, the blonde said. Move out, Naruto ordered as the team ran down the halls. So far things had gone well and they haven't run into any trouble. They kept running until they had arrived at an area of some kind. Holy shit, Sakura cried out as she ran up to one of the cages that were around. Naruto, over here. Naruto walked up to the pink-haired girl and looked in the cage. That sick bastard. Naruto growled out. Stand back. Naruto had brought out his sword and then with one swing had sliced right through the bars of the cage. Sakura ran up to the little girl who couldn't have been any more than 10. What had sickened Naruto and Sakura was the fact the little girl was naked. She had bright red hair and when the child had opened her eyes they could both see that she had green eyes. No, no more please. The child said. Naruto growled as he left the cage. Sakura placed a blanket over the child and gently lifted her up. The little one had fallen back to sleep seeing as how she wasn't in any danger. Sakura, get her out of her and back to the village. Naruto said. The others looked at Naruto. Sakura gave Naruto a sad look. Tears started to fall as she laid the child down and did a medical scan of her. The young pink-haired teen started crying some more. A second later the team understood what had happened. The child had died in Sakura's arms. They had all heard a growl coming from their team leader as he started growling. Ino walked up to her boyfriend and hugged him from behind. There was nothing they could have done. You need to calm down, Hinata. Ino said. Naruto stepped away from Ino and looked at the others. This had gone on far enough. Naruto said. Get behind me and no matter what the hell I do, don't stop me. With that said Naruto closed his eyes and called up his chakra. As he did his hands started to glow. I would never have used this in battle if I could help it. Naruto thought. Darkness from twilight, crimson from blood that flows, buried in the flow of time, in thy great name, I pledge myself to darkness. Those who oppose us shall be destroyed by the power you and I possess. Naruto then cupped his hands together. Orochimaru, this time you will die. Dragon slave. Throwing his hands forwards Naruto released a powerful blast of chakra down a hallway. A hallway that he had hopped had the snake bastard. 2 seconds later the hallways that the chakra blast had gone down exploded taking not only the sound ninja that were down there, but also 3 out of 4 of what was left of the sound 4. What the fuck was that? Hinata yelled out. Everyone looked at her in surprise. However they too would like to know what that was. Naruto was panting hard and was on his knees. One of the reasons why he would never use that move was not only did it take a long time to do but also it takes a lot out of him. It's a chakra-based move. Naruto said as he stood up and took a soldier pill. I based it off of the boss dragon's attack. Naruto looked down at the hallway. However Orochimaru is still alive. Naruto and the others looked up to see Orochimaru, Kabuto and Kimimaro standing off to the side. Master. Kimimaro said stand next to Orochimaru. Is this the bastard that has caused you so much pain? Orochimaru looked at him. Do not underestimate him. Orochimaru said. Kimimaro didn't say anything as he jumped down and stood in front of Naruto and his team. Then you die. The white-haired young man said. Naruto didn't say anything as Kimimaro ran at Naruto. Naruto just stood there looking at his nails, however when he saw that Kimimaro had brought out a bone-like sword from his shoulder Naruto knew who and what he was dealing with. Naruto had spun out of the Y and instead had Dragon's Fang in his hand in a way that looked like he had just slashed the white-haired young man. Kimimaro fell to his knees. On his back going from his right shoulder to his left hip was a long slash mark. When the rest of his team had looked Naruto's sword was dripping blood. I don't have team to deal with you. Naruto said as he kicked Kimimaro in the face. The last member of the Sound 5 went flying into the wall on the other side of the room. Lee, take care of him. Shika, take Sakura, Neji and Tenten, go down the left hallway. Everyone else spilt into team and take out anyone that had survived the dragon slave. Naruto had ordered. With a yell of, yes sir. The group had split off. Ino Sasuke and Anko had stayed behind to back Naruto up. Anko walked to the front of Naruto. Hello father. Anko said. Orochimaru just smiled at her. My Anko you sure have grown. The snake master said. You look more and more like your mother. Anko took out a kunai and threw it at her father. Orochimaru however had caught the weapon and had thrown it back at Anko. That is no way to treat your father. Orochimaru said as the kunai hit Anko in the leg. However just as Orochimaru was about to say something else Naruto appeared next to him and had punched him through the ceiling with a powerful uppercut. Let's take this outside, Naruto said after he had followed the snake master outside. The other 6 people looked at them then down at each other. After he had reconnected his jaw Orochimaru glared at Naruto. I had about enough of you boy. He said. Orochimaru lifted up his hand and ran some blood over a seal. Summon justice. Orochimaru cried out. No sooner as he had said that a giant purple cobra had appeared. If that is how you want to play it. Naruto had once again brought out Dragon's Fang. He raised it into the air and yelled out. I summon the old king of the dragons, I summon you Bahamut. Naruto yelled out as he slammed his sword into the ground. The jewel in the dragon's fang glowed. No sooner had that happened that the skies have grown dark. Up in the skies a loud terrifying roar of a dragon could be heard. No sooner as that was heard that the king of all dragons started to land. When the dragon had landed, he was on all four legs. As she stood up, Orochimaru kept looking up and up until he saw the 40-foot dragon looking down at him and Manda. The snake however had started to panic. When Bahamut looked down at the snake it started to smile. There was only one thing that the cobra could think of as he looked at the king of all dragons. Oh shit. Chapter 15, A Sound Invasion Part 3, Goodbyes Are Never Forever. Down below, the young man known to many as Rock Lee was jumping around the attacks of another called Kimimaro. The silver-haired young man knew he didn't have much time. The slash wound that he had gotten from Naruto was thanks to that. He was suddenly kicked in the face hard by the teen and was set flying into a wall. After getting up he looked at Lee and had bought out more bones. Sadly though Kimimaro didn't have enough sped and once again Lee was on top of him. Kachu Tenshin Amiguriken, Lee called out and like a gunshot had hit the sound ninja hard. The punches landed on his chest, stomach, and face. Kimimaro had tried to soften the blows, however they did little to no good. The last thing the silver-hair ninja heard was the sound of his own neck breaking before everything went dark. Lee bowed to his fallen enemy and turned to help the others. Kabuto was pissed off. He had decided to use his chakra scalpels to try and kill Ino who was moving around him like a frog on a sugar high. "Ah, what's wrong, can't hit me?" Ino had taunted him. She once again had jumped out of the way of his strike. "Stand still," the silver-haired ninja said. Ino had stopped jumping around him. Then he looked at him and said, "Really, why the hell do people always say that to the person they can't hit?" Ino had her hands on her hips and kicked Kabuto in the chin as he ran at her. Hinata started dancing around her opponents. When she was close enough she would use her family fighting style to strike and shut down their chakra follows. Hinata for once was thankful to have learned Tai Chi. This had given her the idea to start up a new style that would work better for her. A bee was moving around her enemies while reading her book. This was something that made Choji raise an eyebrow as he watched her fight. She would move in and without looking would then use an open fist to kill them. At least though she killed them. The young man had ducked under an attack that would have killed a normal person. Once Choji was on the ground he would backflip which caused his legs to hit the opposing ninja in the chin. Once up though Choji looked at the ninja as he tried to regain his senses. Suddenly the ground shook and everyone looked up. Then it happens again, this time making the circling shake. "What the hell?" Ino asked out loud, ducking under Kabuto's attack. "Naruto, you better not be playing around up there," Ino said. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Bahamut however was having too much fun as he had used Manda as a jump rope. When Naruto had said that the dragon stopped and then did something that made Naruto sweat drop. He tied the snake to a tree. What the hell? Orochimaru said as he looked at his summon and sweat dropped. Orochimaru had a headache thanks to that damn snake and that fucking dragon. Now he was pissed even more as he saw his ninja losing to a bunch of kids and the rest of Team NCIS. You know Orochimaru, I've been meaning to ask you something. Naruto said. Orochimaru growled at the blonde. Have you seen my mummy? I need to tell her we're out of milk. Orochimaru growled. This little bastard was pissing him off. Suddenly Naruto screamed out in pain as he felt something go through his back. Naruto landed on the ground and turned to look at what had happened. Standing behind him was none other than Sasuke Uchiha. Don't bother trying to get up, he said. Naruto was on his knees and was started to pant as he felt something in his blood. Orochimaru walked up to Naruto. It's a specially made poison that will stop your healing factor, Orochimaru said as he kicked Naruto in the head. You've been a pain in my side for far too long, the Snake Master said as he started to remove the bandages. Naruto looked at Sasuke with angry eyes. Sasuke just looked down at him. Do you really think that after all that happened I would just give up on killing Itachi? He asked. He grabbed Naruto's hair and lifted him up. My father had the right idea. Konoha had grown too soft. He then bashed Naruto's head into the ground causing Naruto's nose to break. Orochimaru had offered me power. Power I will need to kill Itachi and destroy Konoha for killing my clan. Naruto coughed up some blood. Bahamut was nowhere to be seen after tiring Manda to a tree. Both summons were gone. Naruto then screamed once more as Sasuke bought the kunai into Naruto back once more. But not before I take you, girl, Sasuke whispered into Naruto's ear. Naruto tired to get up. He could feel Kitsune working on the poison but it was hard. After fixing his nose, he looked at Sasuke. Then he looked at his forehead protector. It had a long slashed mark across it. So that how you want to play it. Naruto said after coughing more blood. He stood and looked Sasuke in the eyes. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX off. However, she couldn't follow him as she felt a shape pain enter her body. Ino fell to her knees and was trying to get breath back into her body. No! Ino yelled and jumped up out of the hole that Orochimaru made when Naruto had punched him. Everyone looked around and one thing had gone through their minds. Where's Sasuke? Sakura asked. With no more enemy ninja coming after them, the medics started to heal the injured. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Sasuke and Orochimaru. Each one had taken turns punching and kicking him. As this was happening, Ino could see the blood on the ground. Naruto was bleeding and badly from 2 stab wounds near the shoulder blades. In a flash of blinding light, Ino had switched forms and had punched Sasuke in the side of his face, sending him into a tree. Orochimaru stopped what he was doing and looked at Ino as she caught Naruto. Naru, look at me," Ino said softly. Naruto opened his eyes and looked at Ino. "What happened? Why isn't your heal factor healing you?" Ino asked. Naruto looked up at Ino. He raised a bloody hand and placed it on her cheek. "Poison," Naruto said weakly. Ino ran a scan on Naruto. It wasn't good. He was fading slowly. She started healing him, but the wounds kept reopening. She needed Sakura and Hinata's help. Standing up, she quickly made the seals. Summon no jutsu. And in a cloud of smoke there stood a reddish-brown tiger. "How may this one help you, Lady Ino?" she asked. Ino looked at the tiger and softly said, "I need you to bring Sakura and Hinata here, and please make it fast." The tiger nodded and ran off down the hole to find the people that were needed. Ino looked down at Naruto and placed her hand on his cheek. "Hey, stay awake," Ino said. She may have looked calm on the outside, but on the inside she was crying. "Don't die." Naruto looked at her. "I need you to stay alive, we need you to stay alive." "We?" Naruto asked weakly. Ino nodded. However, before he could ask what she meant, Sasuke came back with a strong attack from his fireball. Naruto, as fast as he could, grabbed Ino and turned her around to where he was protecting her, and was hit by the fireball instead of Ino. Ino laid Naruto down gentle on his back and tried to heal him as best she could. 2 months ago, Shizune and Ino had found out that Ino healing chakra would work faster in her transformed state. There was a theory that because of their link, Kitsune was able to see her powers though it and give Ino a burst of power in her healing. The tiger came back, and after seeing how bad Naruto was hurt, they went to work on his right away. "You have to hang on, baby," Ino said in a panicked voice. She had her hand on his cheek. Naruto looked at Ino and in a weak voice said, "Want to get married after this?" Ino at first looked shocked. "Yes," she said with a soft smile. "But you have to get better first." Ino could feel him fading. "Look out," Naruto yelled, pushing everyone away from him as Sasuke once more came at him. This time he was stabbed in the chest. "Naruto," Ino cried out. She once more caught him in her arms as he fell. Sakura and Hinata both punched Sasuke away from them and went back to healing Naruto. "Don't die on me," Ino cried out. Naruto looked behind him and said, "Love you." He then kissed her. Ino started to kiss back as she felt something happening to her. Ino stood up after laying Naruto down. They were both glowing. Suddenly Ino chakra flared up. It was so blinding that everyone had to cover their eyes. In her mind, Ino saw the Kitsune goddess standing before her. "Oh god, no," Ino thought. Kitsune looked at Ino with a soft smile. "It is time to awaken the second stage," the priestess said in a gentle voice. "This will give you the power to save Naruto's life." Ino nodded. "What about?" She didn't get a chance to ask the rest as Kitsune smiled. "Nothing bad will happen," she said as she vanished. "The curse of death is lifted, the curse of lifted has only begun." With those words, the chakra that had made its way around Ino exploded, sending Sasuke and Orochimaru away from Naruto and the others. Once it had stopped, Sakura and Hinata stared at Ino. Her hair was still long, but it had lost its blonde color only to be replaced by white. Her skin was pale, and while she still had her claws, she had lost her tail and ears. However, that wasn't what had them staring. What they were looking at was the 2 most beautiful angel-like wings anyone had ever seen. She walked over to Naruto and laid her hand on his chest and started to heal him. Sasuke, seeing this, ran at Ino with the kunai in hand. He never got near them, seeing as how he was once more batted away from the couple. When Ino felt that Naruto was out of danger, stood up and looked at Sasuke. "You have betrayed Konoha by attack a leaf ninja," Ino said. "Normally the senior member of the team would pass judgment on you. I will not let them, seeing as how not only did you attack the grandson of the Hokage, but my boyfriend as well." With those words, Ino flew at Sasuke and started to attack him. Sasuke had no defense against her and was losing this one-sided fight. That was until Sasuke decided enough was enough, activated his Sharingan and transformed as well. Ino looked at him. So it comes down to this, does it? Sasuke wasted no words as he started to attack Ino. Ino blocked his attacks and with a powerful kick had knocked Sasuke into the air. The two then decided to fight it out in an aerial battle. While the two were fighting, Orochimaru made his move and went for the kill. However, he was stopped by a pissed off Anko. "No fair, daddy." She said the word daddy with so much venom you can see it. "We need to catch up on old times." With that, Anko kicked Orochimaru in the groin and then punched him hard into a tree. The others watched as Ino had knocked Sasuke into the ground with a powerful kick. Sasuke landed hard on his back. He looked up at Ino as she was ready to attack him once more. "Stop!" Kabuto yelled at all of them. "Make one more move and Naruto dies." Everyone looked at him and their eyes widened. Ino stopped her attack and landed on the ground. "Let us go and he lives." Ino growled at him. "Go," Ino said. Everyone looked at her. "Naruto is in no shape to fight and some of us are badly injured," Ino said. Kabuto had a smile on his face. "A wise choice. However, just to make sure that you don't follow us." Once Kabuto said that, he attacked Naruto in the chest with his scalpel, causing Naruto to cry out in pain. Kabuto then threw Naruto over to Orochimaru, who had slashed at the blonde across the chest, and once more Naruto was thrown to Sasuke, who broke Naruto's legs and collarbone. Naruto was then thrown to Ino, who had caught him. After that, the three of them had vanished into the woods. The other had tried to follow, sadly though they had lost them. Ino went to heal Naruto, but she suddenly fell to the ground and had passed out. Before she did though, she looked at Naruto and tired to grab his hand. The team looked at one another. Not only did they let Orochimaru get away, but they had almost lost Naruto that day. It was a sad day, but hopefully they had caused enough damage to the Sound Village in hopes that they don't show their faces again. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX since the attack on the Sound Village. The team came back home in one piece, however 2 members needed medical attention right away. Naruto was the worst off of the 2. The poison that was in his system thankfully was removed and most of his wounds have healed. Ino was ordered bed rest for several days. She was nervous when she had to talk to Tsunade and her parents about something. When she told them, most were not happy. Her mother and Tsunade though were on cloud 9. The rest of the team only had minor wounds and didn't really stay at the hospital though. Kakashi and Abi went home. It was days like this that he was glad that he had trained his daughter so well. So when she came up to him that she had a date that same night, Kakashi felt like killing someone. Over the next few weeks Naruto had laid in a coma. No one knew why, but Tsunade thought that it was because of his wounds. Ino hardly left his side though, and when she went to get his cloths she had found a small box in his dresser. Ino wanted to smile but she couldn't. She sat down on their bed as she had called it, seeing as how she had spent time at Naruto and Tsunade's. She started to blush as she remembers the night before the mission. She blushed even harder when she remembered that she and Naruto were caught as well. Over the next 2 weeks nothing much had happened. Ino and the rest of the original team NCIS had light practices because of Ino's condition. However, Ino and the rest of the medical team was still learning from Shizune and Tsunade. Nearly a month had passed since the attack and Ino was found once more by Naruto's side, sleeping with her head down on the pillow and holding his hand. Ino started to wake up when she felt movement and looked up, only to see Naruto awake and looking at her. No words were said as Ino kissed her fiancé. They had talked for a while after Shizune made sure that Naruto was going to be okay. She told him that Naruto can go in a few days. Naruto pouted at that and had told her to let him go. No a chance in hell, little brother, she said. She then looked at Ino. Make sure he does do anything stupid. Ino smiled and nodded. And remember, this is a hospital, not a hotel room. No sex. With that Shizune left the blushing couple alone. Sure enough, Naruto was released for the hospital. Naruto made his way to the Hokage Tower to talk with his grandmother about something. Ino was next to him holding his hand. When Naruto and Ino got to the tower he opened the doors and looked at his grandmother. Hey grandmother, I need to talk to you, Naruto said. Tsunade looked up and looked at the two of them. This better not be about Shizune catching the two of you making love in your hospital room. The two teens blushed hard. No, that's not it. Naruto let Ino's hand go and stood straight up and looked at Tsunade. Lady Hokage, I would like to ask permission to go with Jiraiya for training. Both Tsunade and Ino looked at him. Naruto walked up to Tsunade and handed her a letter. That is a letter from Bahamut and this one in from Hikari. Tsunade took the letters and read them. Basically they had said the same thing. Tsunade had laid the letters down and looked at her grandson. She then looked at Ino. What about Ino? Tsunade said as she looked over the letters. After she was finished with them she looked at Naruto and took his hand again. Do it, Ino said. You can't pass this up. Especially since no one had mastered it. Ino said looking at Naruto. Naruto looked at Ino. No buts Hinata, I want you to do this. Naruto looked down. Tsunade looked at Naruto with her hand intertwined. Permission granted. Tsunade said. I will grant you a 4-year leave. That should give you to work with the two of them. Naruto nodded. Tsunade then stood up. She went around her desk and hugged Naruto. Just be careful, okay? Naruto hugged her back. I will. Naruto said. Now get out of here. And make sure the two of you lock the door next time. Tsunade said, causing the two of them to face vault as they walked out the door. As Tsunade watched them leave she said. You two pervert. She heard a small laugh coming from the window. Jiraiya walked up behind Tsunade and hugged her. Don't worry about me, Haim, I'll take care of him. Tsunade leaned back into his hug. Normally she wouldn't let him touch her, but she did love the feeling of being close to him. 2 days later. Naruto held Ino close to him as they stood at the front gates. Ino had her head on his shoulder and was crying a little. When she lifted her head to look at him she had a small smile on her face. Don't worry about the wedding, okay? Naruto smiled at her. Naruto took her hand in his and kissed it. I know you'll have everything ready by the time I get back. Ino nodded. Damn right I will. Ino then placed a small kiss on his lips. Selji said that I should be ready in a few months to start my training as well. Naruto looked at her in surprise. That's good. What about the others? Naruto said as he looked at his team. Something, it's too troublesome to tell you about it. Shikamaru said. Naruto had nodded. Naruto then looked at his team. I'll leave the rest of training to you guys. Shikamaru nodded. Naruto then looked at Ino once more. Ino still had that smile on her face. Be careful, Hinata. Ino said. I'll have a surprise waiting for you when you get back. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that. Ino just kissed him again. When the kiss broke Jiraiya stood next to them. Time to go, kid, his grandfather said. Naruto nodded and turned around to leave. As he was walking away Naruto stopped and looked at Ino again. Remember, goodbye isn't forever. With that in a swirl of leaves Naruto and Jiraiya were gone. I hope that he likes the surprise though. Tsunade said as she walked up to Ino. Why didn't you tell him? The smile on Ino's face fell as she placed her hand on her stomach. Because if I did he never would have gone. With her hand still on her stomach she looked at Tsunade. Beside, I wanted it to be a surprise. Part 2. 2. Rays of the Akatsuki. Chapter 1. You're late. 5 years, that's how long it has been since he had left the village. 5 long years since she was last in his arms. Ino Yamanaka was going to kill him when they got home. 5 years ago, Naruto, her fiancé, had left the village to continue on with his training. In that time her team, if you could really call it a team now. They had been sent on a few missions, some of them without her. Speaking of her team, it was also a highly trained team that had added a few more members. Konohamaru Sarutobi and his girlfriend Hanabi Hyuga were the only 2 new members that they have added. Konohamaru had shown that like Naruto he had the never give up attitude her fiancé had. Team NCIS, as people had called it, was a better response team than the Anbu Black Ops. In the history of the team they had many successful and only one failed mission. Ino had been training with fellow teammates Sakura, Hinata, and Shikamaru under Tsunade who was teaching them her style of medical ninjutsu. They in turn upon finishing their training were to train students of their own. She called it a test. Hinata was train her sister Hanabi, who wanted to be a frontline fighting, using their family bloodline. However the young teen had changed her mind when Hinata had offered to train Hanabi in her own style. Ino was training a little ball of energy herself. Ino had a smile on her face as she was getting ready for the day. Ino's student was by far the youngest student in trained to being a ninja. Get her, she heard someone yell out. Don't let her get away this time. Ino blinked. Then she had let out a sigh. Come on, she's only 5 years old. It had sounded like her student was making sure that the village ninja forces were kept on their toes. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Her ninja forces had started slacking off since the formation of NCIS. She was still working on what the name means. She watched as a small bundle of energy made a laughing stack of her ninjas. Looks like she would have to have Naruto retain them if they can't catch a 5-year-old. Much like the child's father though, it had only taken one ninja to catch her. "You are an idiot," Haruka had yelled at the little strawberry blonde. This had caused a different than normal reaction. The child started crying. Wah! Then the child looked at him with the cutest eyes he had ever seen. Please uncle, let me go, I was just having some fun. Tsunade sighed and started counting down as the instructor of the academy started to give into the dreaded puppy dog eyes no jutsu. Do not let her go, Tsunade said to herself. Sadly he couldn't hear her and Iruka had let her go. Damn it, Tsunade had cursed. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX FANFICTION team couldn't even catch the small 5-year-old. She's just as bad as her father. Kyubi yelled out. Yes, be glad that your son isn't as bad as she is. Shino had said. Kyubi looked at him and sighed. Kyubi looked at Shino and smiled. I think everyone is glad that their child isn't as hyper as hey they she goes. Kyubi yelled out as he once again gave chase. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX going on outside? Sounds like she's at it again. Shikaku said as he placed a piece in the go broad. Troublesome, Shikamaru said. She more like her father than people will realize. Shikamaru said. Shikaku looked at his son. Hey, are things between you and Tamari? Shikamaru sighed. He didn't want to think about his wife at the moment. Despite the fact that it was a political marriage between the two villages, he really did care for Tamari, even if it did cost him of his dream of marrying a normal woman. The other half of his dream had come true. It's hard, Shikamaru said. If we were allowed to grow, I think that the marriage wouldn't be so bad. The young man sighed. We both blame the Suna Council though. Shikamaru took out a picture of his two children after placing his piece on the broad. We're trying to stay together for the children, like I said, it's hard. A loud crash was heard as well as a loud, oops, sorry Auntie Yoshino. A young voice said, it's okay dear, I'll have Shikamaru clean that up. No soon as his mother said that a young girl of 5 ran out the back door of the house. Hi Uncle Shika, bye Uncle Shika. For what felt like 100 times that day Shikamaru sighed and looked at his father. She is just so troublesome. At least he knew that his children weren't that bad. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX force of Konoha and was secretly helping them with their training. After all, if they can't catch a 5-year-old, how were they going to protect her home, and her mother? Too slow. The child had yelled out. People have often wondered how she seemed to be smarter than your normal 5-year-old. The truth was no one really knew. The child seemed to be able to talk perfectly at the age of 1. By 2 years she was reading and writing. By 3, she had started training, just doing things like chakra control and things like that. By 4 she had started her taijutsu training, and had asked Guy and Rock Lee to help her find a fighting style that best suits her. Now at 5 years old she had been more than ready to enter the ninja academy, however her mother had thought otherwise. She had slowed down. She wasn't allowed to enter the academy because her mother wanted her to be in the same class as the children of her mother's friends and teammates. It just wasn't far. Putting her hands behind her back she had started to walk in one of the parks. It was about that time that she should get caught and pretend that she was out of breath even though she wasn't. She sat under a tree, and looked up at the sky. She had often thought about her father about this time. A father that she knew was off training, but she couldn't help but think he had forgotten about her mother and his family. Her cousin, even though he wasn't really her cousin by blood, had about a year before he was allowed to enter the academy. Much like with her though, he had decided to wait before he entered. He did however train much like she has. Not long after she had thought about her cousin, 2 people had dropped before her. "Okay kiddo, time to go," a tall slim man said. Next to him was a young woman with long silver hair. The guy next to her had red hair and red spiral marking on his cheeks. "Sure Uncle Choji, hi Auntie Abi." The young woman smiled. "Hello brat." Shortly after the mission to Sound, Abi and Choji had started dating. About a year later they had married. Much like the rest of the team had done. The two had a son who Abi had named after her grandfather, much to her father's dismay. Tsukumo Hitaki. One of the things that had surprised all of his friends was that Choji had also decided to take on Abi's family name. When asked why, he looked at everyone and said, "Why not? That just shows how much I love her." It was later revealed that Choji had changed his name because his little brother would take over as clan head, and the fact that the Hitaki clan was only down to 2 members, now 3. He hopes that will change as the years continued, although the two does not plan to have any more children anytime soon. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Jiraiya. The young man next to him had a calm look to his face and you could see then he had piercing dark blue eyes. So are you excited to be heading home? Jiraiya asked. The young man next to him nodded his head. You really have changed over the last 5 years. Jiraiya noted. Are you still thinking of that young girl from your dreams? The young man turned his head to his grandfather. I told you, it's not like that. The young man said. And yes, I was thinking about her. The young man took out a piece of paper. The way she was able to summon me, what was that? Jiraiya just shook his head. I'm not sure, kid. Are you planning on telling Ino? Naruto shook his head. No, her world is safe for now, besides there were a lot of things that were different in that world than in this one. Naruto was reading the paper that the young teen had given him. It was for a new and powerful version of the rasengan, the Rasen wave. It was something that her father was working on just before his death. The two looked up as the young man had put away the scroll. The village was in view. Naruto had a lot to think about now. He's been gone for 5 years, but that wasn't his fault. Training was stopped when a teen from a different world had summoned him. Damn, she's going to be mad at me. Naruto said. Hey, there's still time, you can go back to the village and tell them I got lost. Naruto said. Jiraiya just gave him a look. Right, grandmother needs to know about him. Jiraiya nodded. And I need to start a promotion for my newest book. Jiraiya said, holding up a new book that wasn't part of his porn series. Still can't believe that you decided to try and bring that old story out again. Naruto said, grabbing the book and started to compare it to the older version. In the old version the main character was named Naruto, but was based on the author. In the newer version the main character is female and shows her growing up with a hard life as she trains in her home village. The twist of the story was that the main character was an outcast. She had to grow up without a family and pretty much hated by the village, but now one would she why? Remember what the publisher said, you this one fails, you are to give up and go back to writing that smut. Naruto said. Jiraiya nodded. I know, but I have to try, otherwise your grandmother won't date me. Naruto sighed. Yeah, whatever. Naruto stopped at the gate. Well, here goes nothing. Naruto walked into the gate and stopped at the guard station to sign in. Naruto Uzumaki returning from a 5-year training trip. Naruto said. About time you got him. Naruto looked up to see Neji Hyuga with his arms crossed, looking at him. You are to report to Lady Tsunade. He said. As he started to walk off he turned to look at Naruto. Welcome home, boss. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and muttered out. Boss. What the? Shrugging his shoulders, Naruto and Jiraiya had made their way over to the Hokage Tower. Naruto started to look around. Nothing was new except for the head on Hokage Mountain, and the paint that had covered it. Wait, paint. Naruto took another look and sure enough the faces of the past and present Hokages were covered in paint. Now how the hell did that happen? Naruto asked out loud. Someone was walking past by him and after hearing the question said. It was that little Uzumaki girl, that troublemaker is going to be the death of some people. Naruto looked at the old woman and blinked. Excuse me, did you say Uzumaki girl? The old woman blinked and looked at Naruto. Why yes, she been causing the ninja forces trouble for some time now. Naruto nodded. Okay, I'll look into it and see what I can do to stop her. Naruto said. Something wasn't right though, there should be any other Uzumakis around. Well, not around Konoha at least. Hey old man, you and grandmother aren't hiding anything from me or you? Naruto asked. Jiraiya shook his head. Not that I know or. Jiraiya said. Hey, I'll catch up with you later, I have to hit the bookstore and set up my new books. See you later tonight. Shaking his head, Naruto went back to his walking. After a few minutes Naruto made his way up the steps to the Hokage office and knocked on the door. Come in. Naruto heard Tsunade say. I'm just telling you that she should enter the academy now. Tsunade said. I'm sorry Tsunade, but everyone wanted our children to be classmates. As much as I hate it, I want Sayuri to have friends when she goes to school. Naruto stopped when he heard the other voice. Ino, the child is too smart to be held back for this long. Tsunade said. Ino sighed. I know Tsunade, but Sayuri is still my daughter and I will decide when she goes to school. That was when they had noticed that Naruto was now in the room. Your daughter? Naruto asked with a shocked look on his face. Ino turned around, crossed her arms and said. Not just mine, she's your daughter as well. Ino said. She walked up to him and punched him hard in the face while yelling out. You're late. Last update December 20th, 2012.